Every so often I'll get to the go live button and it's usually I never think about it. I just click it. Anytime I like stop and go, am I ready? Like should I mentally prep myself? I just say, screw you, Steven, and I press it anyway. I just I never want to be one of those people that get nervous about coming on here. I'm just not. I'm not socially nervous at all. So here I am. Welcome to the Condor DM show. Tonight, it's classic or old school Dungeons and Dragons coverage. I'm going to be talking about the Fiend Folio and monsters I have personally chosen out of the Fiend Folio to cover. So I'll give you a little, when I go to cover, it's going to be a little background on the Fiend Folio, and then we're going to go into monsters. Recently, I covered the AD&D 1E Monster Manual. It wasn't so much covering individual monsters. That was not my real focus. Though I decided with the Fiend Folio, I'd make sure it's a little bit more, I guess, less coverage of the book and the product and more of like, here's a background on it, but then we're going to go into specific monsters. A little background on each monster, some of the combat stuff to do with them, talking about their parents. We're going to go into everything to do with the monsters I have chosen, slightly under 20. I have chosen from the Fiend Folio to cover. And I'd ask you not to get too confused because I'm covering them from the, Fiend Folio. Right? So there are some monsters in there that have later different takes on them, like changes. But I'm not covering the later adjustments to these monsters. I'm covering them as they were in the Fiend Folio. That's going to be the coverage tonight for the Fiend Folio. A little background on it, and then we're going to go into having some fun, talking about specific monsters I have personally chosen to focus on. And I got my notes ready to go, but that won't be for a while yet. Right now, we're in Joe Rogan casual time, and here I am. Here I am to hang out and talk about whatever. All right, I have no plans on any specific subjects, just whatever anybody wants to bring up, we can talk about, or whatever I come up with to talk about. It'll be great. That will be great. That will be great. You ever see old school tabletop role playing game people complain about other people complaining? You ever see that? Like that's I find that cute and funny. It's like, okay, there's some old school tabletop role playing game YouTuber, and he's complaining about other people complaining. But all the guy does is complain. He complains about a lot of things, but then he complains about other people complaining. And I mean, sometimes these guys can get worked up where they're talking about politics and everything. Like they're just complaining about everybody complaining. I'm like, I believe in free speech. Say whatever you feel. I think get your complaints out there, your criticisms, get everything on the table. I believe in just putting everything on the table. I really do. Like it's like I don't bother complaining about people complaining. I just say get it on the table, and I can choose to ignore you or move on. But the idea that you can control how other people think or talk or what they got to say, and then you got to examine yourself when you're complaining about other people. I see some old school tabletop role playing game YouTubers that they'll be something in the wrong realm. They'll be a complainer themselves. They'll be somebody who's nasty about certain things. And then they want to take up a righteous role. Like they'll complain about other people and then they'll say in the middle of it, well, I'm guilty too. But I'm like, dude, you're not just like guilty of it. You're guilty of it like yesterday, dude. Like last week. Like you're still that person. I don't get why you're going on as if you're not just as guilty. It's like you're trying to pretend to be somebody you're not. Like somebody who's righteous and practices what they preach can speak the way you're speaking right now. But right now you're speaking as if you are that person, but you're not. You're actually just one of the people you're complaining about. Like just instead of complaining about other people, my advice is go look in the mirror. Yell at yourself, especially when it comes to politics. Like just go look in the mirror and yell at yourself. That would be way more effective. You become a better person. You get right on what you're saying and then become righteous when you speak to people. then your rant makes sense, and you could back up your rant. But I mean, your rant is absolutely meaningless if you were just the people you're complaining about today. Well, you were that person yesterday, not like last year, not like you've adjusted, not like you've gotten better. So you speak from a position that you actually don't partake in. And so your rant becomes really empty to me because I'm like, well, first off, I don't agree with you, but that's not the point. I just go, man, you are in no position to be preaching at other people. You need to better yourself. Go look in the mirror instead of coming on yelling at people. That might be well advised for you to go look in the mirror, dude. My friend there. And then I ask some people to. It's sad when people assume things about you. Like, look, I remember last year, I respond to specific YouTubers that were attacking me. And I'll get this from somebody who even likes me because they're so misguided in what they assume about your content or what you do on here. They'll be like, well, I don't want to talk about other YouTubers. I'm like, dude, neither do I, to be honest. But you got to understand, I usually shut up about other YouTubers. But it's like if somebody made 20 streams on me and then I respond to that person, it's not like I'm initiating some attack on them to start drama. Like I'm like the picture in your mind of what I'm doing is completely wrong. Like I'm personally, like if you go look at the rest of my content, it's just that some people, if I do a response, I remember last year they would focus on it. I do like one response video to somebody who's done like 20 streams, but the rest of my videos that week would be like gaming advice and all this. Though my one video responding to somebody might get a lot of attention. And then people will behave as if half my content is that. It's like just because you behave that way doesn't mean the evidence actually backs up this very false picture you have in your mind. Even if you're an innocent person, I don't think you're doing it for a bad reason. You're just taking a completely weird view on me. And then you might ask me if we got to talk, like, please, let's not talk about other YouTubers. And I'm like, dude, if you understood who I was, you wouldn't even have to ask me that. You would realize I don't initiate it anyway. Like usually if I bring up somebody's name, it's because they've done something recent. Like, well, that was last year though. Even the attacks on me this year, I've just ignored. So I'm not even responding. And some people will combine like a response to somebody who's done like 20 streams on me. The guy's done 20 streams on me. I do like a 5-minute response. And that week I might do some criticism about WotC. Now I might do criticism about the old school. This is commentary on parts of the hobby. And yeah, sometimes on behavior, but not on individuals. It's just that, again, the commentary will then be lined up. I'm like, it's biased thinking because I'll be judged by certain old school people for what I say about the old school. But I'm like, well, I put the commentary out there on WotC too. What about that? Well, that's fine. Well, no. It's no different, dude. You have a completely biased view on what I'm saying. Like, all I'm doing is to you what I do to WotC. Like, I just do it all around. You just have a completely different, you have a biased mindset. Like it's not, no, if it's fair for me to go after, like say the new score, WotC, it's just as fair if I behave or if I call out behavior or something of the old school. That's all it is commentary and opinion on parts of the hobby, not even on individuals. I tell people they got to stop being selective in what they take in. They got to get their feelings, they got to separate their feelings from what's going on because if you're saying commentary on a certain part of the hobby or behavior on a certain part of the hobby, like say the new school is okay, really, if you're somebody who believes in free speech and fairness, what you're saying is if it's okay to do it to them, it's okay to do it to every other part of the hobby. Like if they can take it, so can this part too. Right? And it can't be one-sided. I'm not a one-sided guy. I'm not in a cult. I'm not in an echo chamber. I do commentary on different parts of the hobby. And it's like, sorry, if your biased thinking makes you think that talking about the new school is okay, and you'll even agree, like I'll see an old school guy that will come along and I'll be given the same similar criticism to the new school or to WotC and that realm of people in the hobby. And they'll be like, yeah, and they'll think it's completely okay what I said to them. I say, well, okay, next day I'll do a video on the old school, which is no different. No different. And they'll be like, that's wrong, man. That's drama. No, it's not, dude. I'm not part of your echo chamber. So I do commentary on all parts of the hobby. Sorry. I'm not part of your echo chamber, and that's completely biased thinking. That's not a fault of mine. I'm not doing drama. It's your biased thinking is painting what I'm doing as drama. It's you just got to get better at that stuff. I I I find communication in this in the old school because I do a lot where it's the old school people that will come along to my content, my content, and I just get it. I totally get it now. Like I've gotten it for like the last year or so. Very clear to me. There's just a lot of biased thinking in the hobby. So it's like if you talk about certain things in a certain way, it's the way people take it in, and it's not like you're doing anything wrong. Like it's like some parts of the audience are completely neutral to this stuff. Like the majority are silent. So I'm not getting complaints from like 50 million people. You gotta understand, like if 50 people view tonight and 2 people complain, well, it's only 2 people complaining. And the people that complain sometimes, I think they think there's something more to it, dude. I'm more fair with my commentary than people think. It's like, look, if I can do it to the new school, I can do it to the old school. And I'm not part of the echo chamber. I'm not part of a cult, dude. Like if that's your thing, fine. But I purposely aim to do nothing more to the old school as far as criticism in a general sense than I do to the new school. And that's all it is. It's just thoughts. And people get mad about thoughts that you put out there too. It's like complaining about people that will do a little criticism. I'm like, dude, if it upsets you, there's an easy way to deal with it without trying to control or without trying to pressure me into shutting my mouth, without trying to censor me, without trying to run me off. There's a real easy solution for everyone who does not like what I have to say. Don't watch. That it really is that simple. If you don't watch, you won't be bothered by what I say. You'll actually find yourself in complete peace. And you'll notice it works. Like it really works. Like I tell people, you can either try to control how other people speak in the hobby or in anything in life, or you just not watch. Like if I'm putting basic criticism out there, you don't like it, don't watch. If you watch and then you get upset, I say to people like you're taking it in, dude. If you're uncomfortable with what I'm saying, just turn it off. You don't have to control how people speak in the hobby. Complaining about people complaining, I find that so hypocritical. It's like, come on, man. Come on. Come on. Like, look, I'll find it funny. People complain about other people complaining, and then they want to go on a stream where they want to put their complaints out there about the things that bother them. I'm like, dude, you know how you want to complain about D&D? Yeah, or you want to complain about somebody who writes like a comic book that, in a way that you don't like? Yeah. You're doing what other people are doing on subjects that you have a biased view of. Like you're trying to pressure people into shutting up and not doing what you're doing. You want the freedom to go on your stream or your video and say what you think and be heard by people that want to hear you. You want the freedom to complain, right? And you definitely do not want people ripping you for what you're saying. So what are you doing ripping other people for what they say? Like it's so hypocritical on that end. Bores me. Bores me. Right? It's like either we're all here in the open square of ideas so we can play fair or just understand that you have a bias. Like the problem is mostly with the people that complain like that complain about complaining. I'm like, the issue is not with the people putting out criticism. The issue is actually with you. Like you bother to listen to people that when you don't like what they have to say, and you've allowed it to bother you. And they're doing nothing more than what you're doing on other subjects. Now, again, it's just watching people that want the freedom to do the thing they're trying to pressure other people not to do. Stop trying to control everyone. And stop trying to, or the idea that you can control the narrative, right? Like I like to push conversations. I like to get people thinking. I like to do that, but I don't think I can control how people think. I can only influence how people might want to talk about things. I think that's reasonable, and that's impact and that's powerful, right? But it's, do I think I can control how people think or the narrative in the hobby? I have no delusions. So I don't think by preaching at everybody to shut their mouth or do this. I mean, first off, I think most people aren't going to listen to you anyway. Like, it's like, okay, you complained about people complaining. Well, they're still going to complain tomorrow, and you'll be ignored. And on top of that, you'll piss people off. So people that might have supported you are now going to back out. Like, there's no winning. There is no winning because you can't control things. And people that want to control things get pissed off at a guy like me who comes along and tells them the truth about their hypocrisy. They get mad at me for it. I totally get it. I totally get it. You're mad at me because I'm pointing out your hypocrisy, and you're noticing that I don't have the same hypocritical approach to this as you do. I try to counter my own biased thinking all the time. And I tried my best not to paint a false picture of other people. So it's like I'll know somebody has put out a lot of stuff, so I'll be like, yeah, in a couple hours we'll be hitting on that one. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun. Yes. Fiend Folio, I'm going to start with the fluff, sort of the background on it, and it's like AD&D 1E Monster Manual. I covered that in a way of covering the actual product because I thought the product was a game changer in the hobby. It was Gary's way of saying, this is what I want, sort of the way I want to put D&D to the world, the way I want to start presenting Dungeons and Dragons to everyone. So it's a game changer. It's a major game changer because it's like the first new product coming out for AD&D, and it's a major. If you look at it in that way, it's a milestone. It's a change, and that's why I covered the book and the product more than covering individual monsters. With the Fiend Folio, I'm going to cover the background on it, but then I selected like a little under 20 monsters. I'm going to specifically, for the fun of it, focus on. Right, so I'm not going to it's not like every single monster I'm going to touch on and talk about. Just not going to happen. But yeah, I mean, there's a number of monsters where we'll talk about their appearance, a little bit of background on them, small bit, and then like combat and stuff. So I figure we talk about that, have some fun with it, right? But yeah, the reason I covered AD&D 1E's Monster Manual the way I did was it's just covering what a game changer it was to TSR and Dungeons and Dragons. And again, with the way Gary wanted to start presenting the product overall to the audience. And the reason TSR, I think, is so interesting if you go back to the early days, is you got to understand OD&D and BECME are nothing but experiments in the hobby. It's like people don't, like Gary and TSR, they don't know what they have when they put out OD&D. They have no idea. They don't even know exactly how they plan to, it's a mess. Like they're presenting you something simple, but it's going to turn into a mess because they're going to make all kinds of extensions and ideas. But then what do? You like, even before you get to the idea of new editions and new games, like what do? Just put stuff out in the magazine, add stuff here. It's like it gets to a mess, and it's like he starts figuring out, well, we don't want to present it that way. And then they start updating the BECME, and there's several different versions of that. And I'm like, I'm glad they just decided to be messy in those first couple goes at it, because it's like trying to figure out what this is, if you have a market, what the market is, what the hobby is going to be, what this is really all about. And then when you see AD&D 1E, especially with the Monster Manual, it's a beginning of a new way of presenting the books and the game. And so I look at the Monster Manual for AD&D 1E as a major milestone type of change in the hobby, or even in the lifespan, the history of D&D. That's why I thought the book was so interesting to cover from that point of view, rather than just going petty. Like I like to cover things that are interesting. There's enough AD&D 1E guys out there that just cover the torches, the specific, the really petty stuff of the game. And I have nothing against it, but I mean, it's like, look, dude, you got 5,000 channels already competing on doing the very basic petty stuff. It's like, how many guys are actually looking at what a product means, the historical factors to it, like how it changes, how the game is presented. It's like almost nobody talks about it that way. So I'm like, I'll come at it with a different take on the thing. Tonight, with the Fiend Folio, it's we're going to talk about fluff. That's definitely an interesting factor, and then we'll get into the monsters. I'll be a little bit more fun on that end, right? But it's monsters in a time capsule, because I want people to understand. Like if somebody comes here, they might hear I'm talking about a certain monster. Well, he's like this. Well, no, that's later, dude. I'm talking about the monster from the era, like the actual time capsule of the Fiend Folio, which some of the monsters in there have changed since. So how some people might understand the monster now will not be exactly how the monster was during that time, right? Because everything is still, you got to think, even AD&D 1E to a degree is still an experiment. Even though this is sort of how he wants to present it, it's still oddly in experiment mode. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Like I mean, one guy asked me the other night, like, Steve, why don't you just do like uh torches for AD&D second edition, all these different monsters? Why don't you do what some of the other YouTubers are doing with AD&D 1E and Beck Me? For like say torches or going after the petty, like why don't you just do that stuff anyway? You'll build a bigger audience. I'm like, that's really not the conversation I'm looking for, and I'm not looking to attract shallow people, right? That are unstable and it will only stay with you if you keep doing the same thing over and over again. And in reality, there's a short ceiling to them. Like you might hit a pretty big number, I guess, like 10K or something, and you're like, okay, that's it, right? Especially if you're even slightly more controversial and just don't stay in that realm, then you're hitting 10 to 15K, but that's it. That's it. That's your audience. And the majority in the center are not interested in that stuff. It takes a long time for them to like you or trust you, especially if you don't have like a major backing going in, like you're not already a celebrity. So they could take a long time, but there's still more of them. Like the center still wants something deeper, but they still need to like you. You got to build up a credible name. You got to become an in name, and that takes gradual amount of time to grow from nothing to something there. I know that just from watching YouTubers and checking out the history and doing a lot of research over the years. So I'm like, I aim for that. I don't aim for the small ceiling of 10 to 15K. I'm just like, I'm just not into it. That's a small ceiling. A very small, and a lot of the guys that like that content are, I hate to say it, when you want that much self-serving, it becomes shallow, and there a lot of them can be very boring for a conversation. So I'm like, I want to attract people that have something to say. I want meaningful conversations about the hobby, about the games. That's it. Stuff that has an impact too, like stuff that is worth actually checking out. It's like, man, okay, we've heard about the torches and AD&D 1E, Beck Me. I could do second edition. I'm like, it's not like in 100 years people are going to care about that, right? But the overall talk around some of the stuff that could be very important, good for the designers. And in 100 years, there's some of the content I'm doing here that if you listen back, you might not care for the torches talk, but if you're designing games in 100 years, a lot of what I'm pointing out can be very interesting and beneficial. So I'm like, I want the content on top of being more interesting, drawing better people, to actually be something meaningful, right? So I'm not just here to be a cheap YouTuber. Like I like the idea of growing. I work hard to do that. I do want to be successful on doing this stuff, but it's like I also don't want to be cheap. I don't want to be shallow. I don't like the audience that draws to YouTube. I really don't. It just doesn't interest me. It just doesn't interest me at all. Not even slightly. I get bored out of my mind with it. It's like, dude, okay, yeah, all right, sure. you're you're clapping like seals for stuff you could have went and read. Good evening, fellow humans. Prop baby. We'll be back and forth for a while, but we'll mostly listen and noted. Hey, baby. How you doing, baby? Baby, we'll get a bit of an education about monsters at one point. Yeah, we'll be talking about monsters soon there. Black Rose, welcome to the stream. It will be fun. It will be fun. But yes, there you go. There you go. Seems like YouTubers are cultivating a following to one day convert their buyers on to Kickstarter. This is fine. Not being upfront about it isn't their challenge are now just commercials. So some of them do definitely do seem to aim that way. Star Blazer, where if they can't make money directly through YouTube, they start working at YouTube. They Some of the guys would just say shit. I don't even think they care to talk about it. They're just going to talk about it and try to build up so they can sell a product later. It's all about trying to get ahead with this. And they'll be like, here's what's funny. I'll find this funny. Guys will say, well, I'm only here for fun. And then they'll look over at a guy like me who's a little bit more open, like I'm here to grow and have some success and impact the conversation. They'll be like, I'm here for fun. Like what he's here is for ridiculous and it's delusional. But then when you examine exactly what they're doing, like their planned streams and everything else, you start realizing, no, they're here for success. They're here for money. And if it's not money directly through YouTube, you know what I mean? It's going to be money through trying to sell something. Well, they do. Like I come here and I'll connect with the people like yourself, just talking like this, right? They'll bring people onto their streams, ignore half the chat. And I mean, most of the time you're only going to get a response if you're paying money. Like they're there to work and make something. And some of them, not all, but there's some credible criticism to say some of them will throw the future of the hobby under the bus to get ahead. Like they really will. I mean, I just think that's plain true. The quality of the hobby and betterment for gaming. Some of the guys out there, not all, they're not all guilty of this, but I mean, it's just, but they'll throw the hobby under the bus to get ahead. Yeah, they're just it's an alternative version. They'll criticize WotC all day, but then when you actually examine what they're, it's very deceitful too. Like I just go, the best thing to, honesty is my policy. That's it. And I directly care about the hobby. I try to make an impact, and I focus on the actual audience. Like I really do. Like you guys are the stars of my show, type of thing, right? Like I'm here to talk to you and get to know you and connect. And I'm very upfront. Like I want to grow or be successful. It's like, well, it's hey, you can say that turns you off or something as an audience member. Somebody might say that, but I'm like, well, the difference between me and the guy who says he's here for fun and you think he is, he's like, he's not here for fun. The guy is straight up here for something else. And all you got to do is examine the actions. But what happens, Star Blazer, is if you say what a certain part of the audience wants to hear, there's a lot of biased thinking and how they view what's happening. Like that guy's really nice over there. Like, okay. I don't sit here and preach at people when they come into the chat and say, they'll say a specific YouTuber. I know the guy is not the most honest person in the world. I know the history with some people here too, where they've adjusted how they do some content. They'll be like, well, that guy over there, he's like really genuine and honest. And I'm like, well, I know, I'm thinking to myself, I know better, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, it's not my job to sit there and preach at people about how these people are. And I don't mention names because it's not about the individual drama for me. That's boring. And here's another thing, Star Blazer. Guys will come by if I do a little bit of, if I do criticism about WotC in the new school, nobody will ask me for a name. If I say the YouTubers over there like this, nobody will come by and say, well, who are you talking about? But then if I do the same type of content about the old school, and I talk in similar ways about them, guys, because they have a biased view, they don't realize I'm just doing the same thing on both sides. They'll be like, well, tell names. Well, what are the reasons I really don't? I'm criticizing it. It is a general commentary on a certain part of the hobby. It is not to start drama. One of the main reasons I don't say names, like other than in the past when I would react to people like a guy doing 20 streams on me, and there I am saying his name in reaction, not initiating any attack on the guy. That would be the reason. But I mean, it's outside of that. I don't say names, and I just tell guys, the commentary or the criticism I'm putting out there, I think, is the valuable part. And what happens if I say somebody's name? Well, the point I made, the commentary on the topic overall is going to be ignored. The point's going to be ignored. The name is going to be like, oh, there's a name. He's starting drama. He's attacking somebody, and then it's everything is thrown out like the with the bathwater type of thing, right? Oh yeah, they're just some of them are like they're almost jealous of other parts of YouTube. And if you come in here with any type of I notice when guys hit a certain mark, guys that aren't that talented, but they get in a certain position on here. If you come in here and you have more talent for this, for entertaining people and talking to people than they do, they it's you. If you bow the knee and go stream with them so they look like champions, okay, you could be welcomed in. But if you won't bow the knee to them and look like an idiot, and you keep showing your quality, especially in the old school, they will not accept you as some fellow YouTuber. You will get pushed out, ignored. There's nothing positive about it. I'm like, it's a very bad way to go at YouTube. Just a very bad way. Because every other part of YouTube, they're not as insecure. And you'll notice, like, go to any other subject, and it could be about gaming, like video games, I mean. And if somebody comes along that's really talented, every other gamer YouTuber will shine that guy up. No bow the knee, no nothing, because they understand they've clued into one thing, and I've heard their conversations. Like this is what they say. It's what other YouTubers say that are in successful parts of other parts of YouTube. That's not from me. They'll say the reason they do that is, and they don't get jealous, is because when you're all doing the same content, you're sharing an audience to a degree, right? So think of it like your audience like a pool, and it's you want to grow that pool. Now that will just grow gradually, hopefully pretty decently with your own work and the other YouTubers around, but that can get dry. And when you get a new hot talented person coming in to do the content around you, you can either look at that as competition, but that's a foolish way to look at that YouTuber. It's let them shine, because in reality, they build up the pool. And the more people they bring in, the more those people will also come to your YouTube channel. And what you'll realize is the audience doesn't care, especially if you don't have drama with each other. They don't care. The idea in their head is like, well, they don't care about he's better than you type of gimmick. That doesn't matter to them. And so when you build the pool up, it's good for everyone. It's just plain out good. It brings more people around the topic. Plain out good for YouTube. And the old school is the only part of the hobby, especially, let alone one of the only parts of YouTube that does this, where if you come in, you got to bow the knee. You can't shine. It's harder to build up the pool. The pool gets really dry, right, of who you're going to share out. It just dries up, and they don't let people shine. And so I criticize them a bit for allowing leechers, which is I call YouTube leechers. And I don't want to put any names out there, Starblazer, but it will be guys like, well, okay, that guy, without your help, probably couldn't get like 500 subs on his own. I'm not trying to pick. I'm just being real with some people. Yet, with the help of going on streams and being propped up, even though they have no talent for YouTube, if they play the right game, they could build themselves up to 2,000 or 3,000 people. Right now, it's an audience they couldn't earn on their own. And when they walk away from getting support from the other guys, they won't grow much, because in reality, they don't have the talent to maintain that audience. They don't even have the talent on their own to get that audience. Right. Like they can barely maintain it, just barely maintain what they have. And I call them leechers, because they're not going to grow the pool. So no one's coming around because of them. You're not going to build the pool of the audience, and they're going to leech off the other YouTubers. Let them leech. Clapping seals is right. Yep, that's you. You probably heard me say that a few times where they're doing this. Ooh. I'm like, it's so obvious, dude. It's just here's the problem, Starblazer. You're clearly not in the echo chamber. So when you take an honest look from the outside looking in on some certain groups of people, you can just see the complete truth about who they are. And what will blow your mind is how many people are in the echo chamber and that they cannot see it at all. Like they have biased thinking. They are everything you're just saying. They are, and it's even if they can somewhat see the truth for a second, they'll start wanting to defend their echo chamber and ignore you. And if you make too much of an impact on them, like in the criticism you put out there, as a group, they'll try to attack you. And sometimes in their minds, if there's more people on this side than the individual, that means the majority must be right. Now, in life, that's not always untrue. There's all kinds of situations where the majority is going to be right over the individuals. It's only that changes when you finally run into an echo chamber. When you run into an echo chamber, ironically, because most of them are in an echo chamber, the individual, especially an honest one, looking from the outside looking in, will be right more times than the actual echo chamber mass amount of people. That will be the situation where it changes. Right, the individual is now going to be right. The echo chamber is going to be wrong, and the echo chamber just will still have it in their heads. Well, if we all believe this, there must be something wrong with you. No, actually, you're an echo chamber. I'm likely right here, right? But it doesn't mean that's not true in life. Sometimes the individual really is just, man, if everyone thinks this and you think that, you probably got an issue there. That is true a lot of times, but it's just people don't get it. When you get to an echo chamber, that switches. That can switch, right? And it's usually an individual that has to break through to an echo chamber. That's why if you study history long enough, Starblazer, that's how you realize there's people that will be brainwashed into believing something, and throughout history proves this, where it's individuals that have to take the hit a lot of times to overall change massive groups of people in their thinking. And what you find out many years later throughout history is, in some cases, individuals are completely right. It's the mob that was wrong. The mob was completely wrong, right? And the individual was right. That happens when you get echo chambers. Like they might believe something because some politician or leader that is lying to them, right? Or a group of leaders who have lied to them have held up a lie pretty well. And so a mass amount of people will believe the lie. And it will take honest individual people that are willing to take major hits, right? But and how do those people win the day? I've learned this over the years. It's how I studied this. How I changed minds personally is just tell the truth, right? You say CMY Con isn't about the money. It's just straight lying to his audience. The dude is clearly all about the money. Just don't lie to the audience. Not hurt. You can be honest. Like, yeah, of course, cons are going to be about money. You got to put things out. Here's how you change minds. You put something out there that's true. It's like planting a seed. And Starblazer, when people will leave here, things are going to have to happen. And if I've told the truth, for example, here's how I've changed some minds a lot of times. If I tell you the truth and the other guys don't, well, then whatever happens will either line up with what I said or line up with the other side. And over the years, things line up with what I say. Like if I tell you, well, this is going to happen next so many years, yeah, and I'll have people calling me bullshit. Next so many years, guys, the YouTubers will all start repeating what I said 5 years earlier because I was telling the truth. So now their dismissal of me 5 years earlier is just completely gone. Now they're actually repeating my words, right? Making my same arguments, but still, I'm still Voldemort. I still won't be acknowledged as the person who said it 5 years earlier, right? But it's like, whatever. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with cons being about money or part of it being about money. I think there's a mix. People can partly care, but their bias thinking means they'll want money first. That might be more important to them. But if they say it's not about the money, it's like, dude, people are there trying to become a name, sell their books, promote their ideas, become authority figures, and that is to gain success, to gain followings, to gain money. But there's nothing wrong with your hard work earning that for you. That's what they don't. I don't. So I agree with you. I don't get a Starblazer why they bother lying, because there's nothing wrong. And the more honest you are, the more genuine you can be, because the more you spend time lying, the more you'll actually stop doing whatever good you were doing. Like everything becomes about that. It's like, dude, you can still be in it for the money and still care. And the more honest you are, the more real you'll feel that you are. It will actually make you, the more honest you are, the better you are as a human being. Even if you're honest about wanting to be successful and get a hit. That's why I say it's no good to sit there and lie to people and say, I'm only on here for fun, but then I examine all your actions. Well, you're doing a stream every week on a certain schedule. Yeah. You're doing videos at a certain time of the day for a certain reason. Yeah. Well, dude, if you keep lying about that, it will destroy your character inside. It will make you fake. And if you're willing to lie about this, you'll find yourself within that habit lying about other things that you normally wouldn't. Like, you should just be honest. But here's what they're scared of, Starblazers. Some guys out there, they lie sometimes because they want to be able to set up things for later. It's like, what if you want to be successful on YouTube, but you fail? I mean, if you look at it after so many years, if somebody's not gotten somewhere, it means they failed. And who wants to say that they failed? Most guys don't. So a lot of guys on here will say they're on here for fun, but I'm like, okay, well then 4 years later, well, if you're on here for fun, it doesn't matter. But if you're on here to get somewhere, that means you failed. Who wants to say that about themselves on here? Nobody does. It's big ego. And they'll be honest sometimes with some things, but not others, which I find weird. It's like compartmentalizing their mind. Like, they lie about this, but it's still, they're more deceitful about other things, because the more you lie, the more you'll lie. The more you'll lie. And even worse is projection. Many of the guys out here are lying about who they are, will sit there and try to project the reality of who they are onto a guy like me. I'm like, everything you say about me, dude, is true about you. That's why I get on them sometimes when they say Steven can't take a joke or anything like that. Well, I do it in public now. Like, it's years ago when I wasn't streaming to show them I could handle all that. They would just assume all that. But the truth is, most of them couldn't handle a joke. Most of them couldn't handle debating. Most of them were walking on eggshells. These were all the same guys who said I couldn't handle it. I'm like, dude, let alone I can handle it. Well, obviously you see it now live more often. Like, often I handle everything: debates, poking, joking around. Fuck, I handle it all, and I handle it really well. But you guys were all walking on eggshells, pretending you can handle it, and then preaching as if I couldn't. And then when you see them actually challenged with real poking, they can't handle it for a joke. When you see them get into real debates, they can't handle it. They go on edge and freak out. Complete warping of reality. So I'm like, well, I knew that. I knew it years ago. I knew it right away. They'd say, like, we can handle jokes, but I'm like, yeah, but if you examine your stream and all the people on the stream, you guys are all unknowingly walking on eggshells right now while you're joking around. Like, have you paid attention to that part? Do you even notice that you're doing that? That you're walking on eggshells and being careful? Are you? Do you have the intellect to figure that out about yourselves? Do you realize that you're walking on eggshells about debates? You say you can handle them, but I'm watching. No, you can't. So when they finally get challenged with this stuff, they absolutely fall apart. Somebody really pokes them, they get really mad. Yeah, I try not to hate the guys. They'll be behind the scenes. Some of the guys that you mentioned will attack me, not knowing me at all. Uh, they're phony as the day is long. I got nothing to say about individuals like that. Like, I think I know exactly who you're talking about, but I don't hate the guy. I mean, yeah, I wish him success. Like, I mean, I hope he has it. I don't get jealous. I don't care. But unlike some of these guys out here, and I won't just say him because there's no drama here, but a lot of guys always busy implying how better they are than you. I do it this way. Well, what are they implying? They're better than the next guy who does something alternative. I'm like, guys, if you're secure about yourself, you wouldn't always have to imply that you're better. That's an obvious insecurity, right? And then some of these guys, game designers, I pick at them a lot because old school, go back to the 80s and that, Gary and them were very humble to understand just how important the person who ran the game is compared to them. Like Gary Gygax was really genuinely good on being honest about this stuff. I mean, there's things he said I don't always agree with. I don't bow to the legend of Gary Gygax, but the guy was very wise in his day and a lot more humble than you see people today. Like he'd say, like, I hope they don't realize that they don't need our game to play the game. True. But he also realized the main thing that everyone's here for is the experience at the table. And the one who makes sure that thing goes round is the person who runs the game. And if you don't have people that are capable of running the game, your hobby is dead. Like the market's dead. The games and the games so the market overall is second to the person who runs the game. The game itself is secondary to the person who runs the game. Like basically imagine trying to have a video game market like with PlayStation games, but you have no PlayStations, or you only have a few PlayStations. All right, just imagine that. Like PlayStation, the gaming console, the PC place that you game. If you're a game designer making video games, you can't deny how important that piece of the puzzle is for everything to work. It becomes so important, it's almost more vital than you that thing works. Right? Old game designers always understood in the hierarchy of things. The game master was here, they were here. And 2026, especially in the old school, a lot of the game designers falsely put themselves up here, and everyone else, including the game master, is here for importance. Like they're this important to the hobby. I'm like, well, dude, and a lot of games fail, and they fail for one reason. Like, no matter how important you thought you were to the hobby or how important your game was, it's like, well, how well does your game produce people to run it? You start realizing you're not going to build in PlayStation. Your game has to sit there and make sure people can run it, like people that you're going to inspire that and build that up. And if not, your game going to the market means nothing. So Gary and them all understood this. Game master up here. Like we are the PlayStation. We are the thing that makes everything work. Without us, you're completely. You don't even have a hobby. You don't have a market. Games are no good. A hobby is no good. You need that, and it's like once you understand that's the most important piece of the pie. As a game designer, you don't sit there and treat the people that make the magic happen at the table as secondary to you. You appreciate their position. You understand how important they are. And you even understand like you're leaning on them for your game. Like you don't mess with them. Like you don't mess with them. And the only other cheap way to do it is either go raw, which means anybody can just try to run a sort of terrible version of the game. I'm very mediocre. Or you have to be pretty free and give a lot of authority over to the guy who runs the game. That's why all the old school games say, if your game master says this, if your game master is going to use this, if, because they understand the game and the company has to bow the knee to the person who runs the game. And the game text made that clear. So, but I don't, as far as individual people, I mean, it's like when Starblaze are the reason. I wouldn't mention names. Here's another reason. There's always a variety of people guilty of certain things. The implication, the constant implying that they're better than other people. There's a lot of guys do that around the old school. Constantly. It's an insecurity. A lot of them can be like that. Yep. Very arrogant, but and I get it's annoying, but what you're really seeing is seeing insecurity. Like truly confident people aren't like that at all. They don't need to constantly imply how they're better than other people. Just doesn't exist. Uh, and it's again, I'm not just picking. Like I'm nothing against individual people. Like I get the audience can have their whatever opinions they want. I think we all, as public people, have to just you let the audience think what they want. That's how this game works. You put yourself out here and people in the audience that aren't participating in what we do as public figures have the right to not like me, not like this person, to have their critical thoughts. That's okay, right? Yeah. I mean, it would make for a better situation all around, because some of it becomes you become accustomed to a certain thing, and then you make a certain part of the audience accustomed to a certain thing, and it's a very shallow part of the audience that you're feeding into. But look, it's cheap growth. It's it's this, you're talking to an audience that has a small ceiling, right? And it's like, okay, well, I mean, if your ego needs that rub, have it. If you need to constantly go around implying that you're better than other people, that's on you. That's on you. But would I just go after him as some target thing? Like, no, that's unfair. It's unfair just because so many guys do it. So just to keep saying his name would be that. I get how people would see that as like me personally, like what you say is your business. I can't, as public people, we can't tell the audience what they can say or what they can think, and we can't like there is a limit. There is a limit. There are certain things that if you said them, I'd be like, dude, cool down there. But I mean, on just your critical opinion about other people, that's on you. It's not something as a public figure I bother to focus on. But I get what you're saying. Just understand my position. I I'm not just talking about this to avoid what you're saying. It's just to say I really don't have beef with the guy. So the individual you're talking about there, and I personally hope he has success. I really do. Even if he is out there doing whatever, it's like, dude, I'm not jealous. I hope whatever hard work you put into whatever you're doing, man, works out for you. Cool. That's great. A lot of guys, though, uh, some people in his circle will constantly take shots at me without mentioning my name, which can be a little weird. Where it's like, they're aiming stuff at you, and it's like, dude, you don't know me. You really don't. Like, you've just heard about me. You're assuming a lot of things, and it's become stupefied because I can't take what you say serious if you're simply wrong about who I am. Like, it just doesn't match reality for me. So it's like, oh well, you could think that. Some of these guys have their opinions. Uh, Look, I don't think they have that much sway over things going on, but in a way, it's sad to see it so often, because I think the ego gets in the way of, like, you're not going to get an honest person like me to want to talk to you if you keep behaving like this. So it's just not going to happen. All right. I'm not going to be attracted to having that guy in the stream or people like him or anybody like in that circle because they behave that way. I can't control it, but just be more honest. I am. And I live it. Like, if I say something out here, I'll be really honest if I failed at something. And they'll laugh at me about it, but it's like, okay, well, I've also done this. I play long game there, Starblazer. I'll sit there and I'll say failure, and they'll say, well, they'll laugh at me for a couple of days, and an audience that already doesn't like me will sit there and laugh too. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to lose any support, but here's what's going to happen by me being honest. And they don't realize the long game because they're all short term thinkers. By being honest, that builds up credibility for me. If I fail something, it's like, okay, I failed. But it's like later, when people want somebody who's serious about something, they'll come to me before they go to them. It's like, you say what you want about Steven, he's honest. I want to go see what he thinks. And that's credibility they don't get. That's long game. And I'm very honest that I played the things that way, but a lot of guys here that we're talking about Starblaze or you're talking about individually, a lot of them are short term guys. Like, they see everything in the short term. Like, everything's now. They don't see, like, I'm like, well, if you talk this way or have this attitude, what is it going to be like in a year? And some of them don't think about that because they're all in instant success. This is where I say some of them are very thoughtless, and they'll throw the hobby under in the ocean, under the bus, right? Because it's like, well, the way you're acting right now is going to harm how we talk about this stuff. It's going to harm new people coming in and hearing about this stuff. It's going to harm how people are actually going to experience the game when they're going to sit down because of the ways they've heard about things. This is actually going to harm the hobby. It's going to harm it 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, for actual people sitting down to play the game. Like, you're actually, like, the outcome is going to be negative for people that actually try to play the game, right? And so but guess what? They don't care, because that short-term thing got them some more subs, got them a few more sales, got them some short-term ego boost. I'm like, well, okay, fair enough, but I'll do stuff that might take a little bit more grinding, and I'll get a payoff later, but it will benefit people later too. Like, my content will help with designers, right? So designers are hearing a lot of old ideas that I know has not been talked about openly, because it's not how people talk about the old games. Concepts, like, it's just going to be concepts, and trying to understand the games too in different ways. It's going to be interesting when you're always hearing the same thing about a game, right? It's new ideas that I'm going to bring into the picture. And then over time, people appreciate it, because not everybody just wants to sit down and listen to every game I'm going to cover right now. But I've noticed over time, views keep slowly building up on a lot of things I'm doing. And then credibility slowly builds up. It's a long game, but I'm playing long game, right? So I don't care about the short-term attacks. Like, well, you're only this right now, not getting too far. I'm like, well, yeah, and you're getting maybe ahead of me, somebody that might have been lower than me, and then getting ahead of me really quick or in shorter term. I'm like, yeah, but in ways that's going to hurt you more. You just don't know it yet, and you might even get a lot bigger than me. It doesn't mean in the long run, in 5 years, this will hurt you more. And for me, playing the longer game, but I'm as guilty as a lot of people. Starblazer, I got caught up responding to people. And even though in some parts I was playing a long game, I get caught up playing the short game a bit too. But I'm honest about that. I put out content saying that. Oh yeah, some of them obviously don't like me either, as you know, my dude, as you know, which is sad, because it's like, I think I bring a lot to the conversation, and it would benefit other content creators and people wanting to be public to actually talk to me. Like, think about what people thought, and then suddenly I started doing the interviews. Everyone was saying interviews are great. Like, dude, but I've always had, your biased thinking is what stopped you from seeing what was obvious in front of you already. Then when you see an interview, you're like, well, he did really good. Well, dude, you would know I was going to do good on this if you just didn't look at me with a very biased lens, right? You would realize it already. Like, it would already be, you'd clue into it a long time ago. And it's harming. It doesn't just harm me when, say I try to do something that might be appeasing a bit to that part of the or that echo chamber. I'm like, dude, when you guys put me down, I'll be fine. I won't. Fair enough. I won't get you, but it does harm you to not want to have somebody like me in the conversation. Like, I know a lot. I have some real genuine experience, and if you keep painting a false picture of who I am, you won't even see the truth. Well, he doesn't know anything, but anybody with a biased view of me, here's what I say, and they go like, yeah, man, you know a lot. I'm like, yeah, well, I do. That means I'd be good for a panel. I'd be good for a discussion about tabletop role-playing games. And I bring a lot of deep thinking to the conversation, right? Well, that's it. You have to. That's why I put up my video saying, like, I failed to sell my game at the time. You got to self-reflect and grow, and you got to be honest. I'm not perfect now. I wasn't perfect even years ago, but my thing is always the aim to improve, because I want to go somewhere with it and aim at something real. But some guys, yeah, you're right. Some guys just live in lies. They live in lies. And by the time they give into something, it's when they can sort of give into it without looking like they failed at something. Like, they can't be honest, they can't grow. No, they'll never give me credit for exactly Starblazer. 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. It will never be acknowledged. I'll be painted as an asshole and everything. That 1,000,000% correct. 1,000,000% correct. That's 1,000,000% correct. Like there's not even a slight doubt that that will be the outcome. That will be 100% the outcome. They'll lie about me and everything, and I'll do this, and they won't see it. It goes right over their heads. Everything I've done, because it's biased thinking. Like you can see it clearly because you have no biased view on me, right? You're just taking me in, and you're like, okay, he's not full of shit. That's good. You don't have some background that says you don't like me for a reason. So you show up here without any qualms with me, and for that reason, you'll see the truth. Yeah, yeah, it's exactly it. I'm as fair as can be. Oh man, it's usually I try to treat other people how I want them to treat me. That's what they don't get. So it's like that's when they say what I'm doing is an attack. Like again, I always use the example of the guy who's done 20 streams on me, and I do like a 5-minute response to him, and then people act like I've initiated some attack on the guy. I'm like, dude, what about the first 10 streams? I didn't respond to that. What about 5 more streams? I didn't respond to that. We finally hit 20. I finally respond, dude. The reason I'm not doing the first 10 is because I don't want the drama initially, right? Then when I finally hit 20, it's, dude, I'm giving back a bit of what's given out to me, but I'm not even looking to do that in the first place, right? I'm looking to be someone who does commentary on the hobby, on different parts, and on the games, and that's it. That's my main aim. I just don't want the drama, but if you have a biased view of who I am, you'll think that, right? And then I've done a stream with a guy in the past where uh, if I'm talking about something, like if he comes on to talk about something, it really depends on the subject or if I bring someone else's name up for a certain reason. It's again, it's how people paint everything you're doing. It's to say paint it that way. It's like, oh, you're attacking someone. Oh, I'm talking about something, right? Pay attention to what I'm saying. Be fair. Be a grown man. But no. But you want to know what Starblazer? We can haha about that all day. But I've tried this with that crowd for like 5 or so years now, like going on 7 years. I've just given up on them. That what you're saying, a lot of what you're saying is like been true about the same people for like years. So I just go, yeah, well, I won't respond anymore, and I'll be fair to them because I just want to. It's about just being who I want to be, but I don't do it for the sake of them noticing. So it's haha, yeah, you're right. They won't notice, but I don't no longer do it for them to notice. I just don't care if they do. They'll keep lying about me. They lie about me all the time. That's all they do is lie about me and project on to me who they really are. They do that to me all the time. And I'm like, yeah, you want to know what? It's been 7 years. They're not going to change now. And nor am I looking for it. So I've given up on the audience here, the YouTubers. I don't look to go on streams with them. I don't care what they say. They can poke, oh, you're a chicken shit. No, dude, I don't care. And I haven't done anything wrong. So at this point, it's like, well, they'll say things to me like it's so arrogant when they say something like this. Why don't you just come on and prove everyone wrong? Dude, that would mean I've done something wrong and I got to go work at making it better. I'm not lifting a finger to do anything. I've done nothing wrong. So people could publicly apologize if they want to talk to me, but the shoe is on the other foot. It's they got to make the effort to get me to talk to them. That audience has to be more open-minded if they want me to care to go talk to them. But I'm not going to sit here and go, I'm going on to prove something to liars. I got nothing to prove to liars. I get nothing to prove to people that have a biased mindset against me. I've already proven myself, and I do that all the time in my content. So it's like, oh, I don't need to go on somebody's stream and prove it. Listen to what I'm saying. Be fair. Get rid of your bias thinking. Listen to my videos. Listen to my content. And I won't have to go on that guy's stream and prove anything to you. It's already proven. So when they tell me, when do you come on and try to fix this on somebody else's stream? I'm like, dude, I don't have to. It's already fixed. What do they mean? Just be fair. Be fair when you hear me, and you'll realize I've already answered to everything. That's it. It's already fixed. The problem isn't me anymore. It's the problem is that audience in a certain echo chamber and those YouTubers. It's like them being insulted, like they'll lie about you, and then they're right offended when like they'll hear me say like, "Man, I'm not going to talk unless they apologize." Well, I'm not going to apologize, but they got to think about what does that mean. You've told a devastating lie about somebody trying to destroy them, and that person has some self respect. So what do you expect? Like you are offended that that person expects you to make a public apology? What is offensive about it? What is wrong? And what is wrong with people having self respect? You tell major lies, and that person says, "But I stop again." I can tell you, Star Blazer, because I know you get it. But if I go try to explain this to these guys, they're all biased thinking. So I've tried it. I've tried to say there's nothing wrong with me expecting a public apology. People have made major attacks and lies on me in public, right, for periods of time. Any human being with self respect would demand an apology. That's it. And there should be nothing offensive about the demand. Like, oh, I'm not apologizing. Well, dude, there's nothing wrong with me expecting that thing. So if you don't want to give it, fair enough. I'm not sitting here telling anybody what to do. But it's like if you want me to talk to you, that got to be part of the package. And not behind the scenes. That has to be right up in public. And I mean strong, like real, like you don't add something to it. There's no sliding comment. Like it has to be absolutely real. Like an acknowledgement of just how wrong you were. Right. That's part of the apology is the acknowledgement. If not, you're just wasting your time. I don't want nothing fake. And it's like I've told some guys, they spent so many years attacking me now that even if they do want to make peace, it's hard to want to go talk to people you don't like. Like it's like, guys, you spent so many years attacking me, you made me not like you. So it's like even if we try to make peace, I can make peace, but that still might not mean I want to go talk to you. Right. But when people want to use you, suddenly all of that will be fake. They'll play cool with you for a second if you say, "Well, dude, I'm okay with peace, but I might not go in your stream." Oh, okay, but I'll go back to line. Oh, so basically, what you're admitting to me is you didn't care to make peace. You just wanted to use me for content. More use of me for content. Well, then I'm not interested. Cool, man. Cool. I love you there, Star Blazer. Go take care of yourself. Stop by anytime, dude. You're always welcome here. Go have a good night. I appreciate the time. Kill some time for me too, because shortly here, because I know at least a few people are listening, and we're going to cover the Fiend Folio. I got a lot of good notes on that. I'm going to go over like a little under 20 monsters. We're going to actually go into monsters, the backgrounds, the combat, the little bit of description on their appearance, all that good stuff. Little fluff at the start, some history on the Fiend Folio, like how it sort of came to be. But I don't want to just rush into that yet. That's the star of the show tonight. The star of the show. The star of the show. Oh, Zeg, it's nice to see you. Well, Zeg, since you're here, when you get time, get on Discord because I got like 3 guys that are now willing to play and making characters for second edition. I put up a new pitch for the 2E stuff for a campaign. If you're interested, I want to run it on Mondays. Check that out when you get time. I've been waiting to see you. I know you're on that group already, but you haven't been on in a while, so I figured I tell you right away when I see you. I'm just reminding myself before I forget. Tell you about it. That means if we get you in, we got four guys, and we're guaranteed. And if you get the character done over the weekend here, coming up, like get it done by Sunday. I mean, by Sunday, I need time to check it out. Don't spit something to me half-assed at the last second. Like, I'm already the type of DM that is not going to be okay. So do something where you get something credible, and I'll take a look at it, and we'll get it all set up so we can play Monday. And that's if you got the time for Monday. What's my favorite? I got a whole list of them here. Let me see. So many. It's hard to say favorite. Hard to say favorite. It's always hard to say favorite. I mean, the Gith Yankee obviously are going to be good, right? Uh, I like the Flump, F L F U FLUMPH, only because it's so weird. Uh, don't try to play it off as a comedy gimmick. It has to be a serious thing, but the Flump, that was a strange one. Flail snails are funny. Flail snails. Um, yeah, I'd say the Flump, Flail snails, or even Gif Yankee are possibly. And when it comes to the Fiend Folio, as far as use and interesting stuff, as far as interesting stuff, uh, Disenchanters, only because they can be a little worrisome for players with magical items. Oh, good. Well, I hope that went well. There's Egg. I hope that went well. I really do. I wanted to get on you because I knew when you got around, I'd be like, oh, I hear you, Black Rose. You're with the baby. You're listening in, like you said earlier. I know you're listening in, my dude. I know you're listening in. No rush. Don't break yourself. But it is nice that you stopped by to say hi to everyone that is making comments. Uh, there you go. And I don't want to say too much about the monsters models, so some of them might be vague. The Gif Yankee, I'm saying obviously because the Gif Yankee is something you'll know. But you got to think it's good use, good weird use for Fiend Folio monsters. There's a lot of them, but I mean, you're only going to use certain ones at certain times. I like certain ones for just personal experience. So like the Plump. I say that one just because I've it's weird. I know a few people ran into it, right? Flail snails are funny. Disenchanters are, well, you don't really know they're much of a threat until your like magic item is. Leave it at that. I'm being vague on purpose because I'm going to talk about some of these in detail once I go into the coverage. So to say favorite, I never really have a. It's hard. It's like when you ask me about monsters in the monster manual. That's such a just. It's such a generalized, vague question. If someone says they have one favorite monster over others, I'd be disappointed with them. I think that's such simple-minded thinking. Like to me, it'd be like depends. When you say favorite, depends on the situation, depends on what's happening, depends on what I'm doing, depends on the reason. Like it's like if you gave me a scenario, maybe I'd say for that scenario, I like this monster more than others. But if you say in a general sense, no, that's way too simple, way too vague, and too simple, way too simple. And if somebody says they have a favorite monster at that point, I'm like, avoid that guy's game. That would be my first piece of advice. Red flag right away. Avoid that guy's game. If you want a creative game master or DM, avoid that guy's game. Like that's a major red flag. Like for real too. That's a very simple answer. So simple. To an answer that's just like has it shouldn't even have a simple answer. There shouldn't even be a favorite. It should be a favorite depends. That's the way I would put it. A favorite depends. Depends on the situation, location, what they're going to be used for. And then it's a lot easier to cut it down to say, here's my favorite for that situation. And then here's my favorite for this situation. And then you account over all the thoughts. Personal experience helps, what reaction people have gotten over the years using certain monsters. So that's the way I would put the question. It depends. Or my answer to it would be, it depends. If I was asking somebody, if I was putting a question to a DM like you're putting it now, I'd be like, well, what's your favorite? And then I would paint the scenario I'm talking about. And that includes the Fiend Folio. Fiend Folio does, like, there's not just one monster I can look at the Fiend Folio. Yeah, that one's better than the others. Well, just it goes back to depending. There's a lot of situations where monsters I might somewhat like would be no good for. Other monsters would be perfect. So I personally don't have a favorite monster. I think you've asked me that before too, with AD&D and some other things. I overall don't have a favorite monster. I like so many though. Like, you ask me for a favorite, you get a list. It's like, I like this one. I like this one. I like this one. That's it. But should be a fun night when I hit this because I got a lot of information on them. And that's the more fun of the conversation. It's not what's my favorite. That's a plain Jane topic. It's once we start talking about the monsters that will be fun. That would be where the juice is, baby. I promise you. I promise. Yeah, I've heard. Actually, I got the list tonight. I've already said it. Like, Miles, you've been listening in. I've said this now, what, 5 times? So 5 times. I got a list of like under 20 I'm covering. Within that are definitely favorites. So I'm not going to start the stream early to answer your question, my dude. You're just going to have to wait. I mean, if you want to go do content, do a stream yourself and talk about your favorite monsters and give away all your content to people right away in the first fucking 10 minutes when you got 3 hours to go ahead. Have at it. You can do the YouTube stuff. See if that works out for you. No, I get what you're saying, but yeah, I mean, you're going to. I'm not going to talk about monsters I don't like from the Fiend Folio. Like, oh, did you put your favorite one there, dude? I'm obviously going to cover my favorite one. Oh, I don't care, but yeah, I'm just giving you. Well, then you'll get a proper answer when you're half-ass listening in and half-ass ask questions. so my response is perfect. You want to be vague? I'll whip you with the tongue a bit. I got no problem with that. You already know that detail. So, hey, you want to be vague and half-ass around? Oh, fuck, I don't care. Have at it. There's could be an outcome to that one that you don't like. Attitude. No, me, I prefer people that definitely are going to be ready for the conversation. It's like when I hit that, if you're skipping around and you're missing out on stuff, that's on you too. That's up to the audience how they take stuff in. But it's like if they start participating, like if I'm getting like a really good conversation, you're like coming in like, I listened to about 5 minutes of the 20 minutes that you just talked about, and I have this sort of half-assed question that you've already answered, and within the first 10 minutes, well, you'll get a proper response for that one. I already covered it, dude. Yeah. I got no problem. I mean, at least I make my chat part of the conversation, which is important. Right. What I can't do is sit there and play other people's videos and go on about them. I just realized there's so many flaws in the old school that when I see guys picking on something going on in the new school, I'm like, dude, it's like our backyard is so fucked that there has to be some major fixing up of that shit before we criticize other people. And as far as politics, I don't know. It's like a lot of people say they don't want to hear politics in the content. Like, I personally just try to leave it alone. on the deeper level. But it is funny. I'll see old school YouTubers out there spend half their stream talking about politics, and it's like my recent video where I put that thing about the right wing echo chamber, and I was doing that for semi shits and giggles, but I was doing it because it's what they call themselves. And I was doing that, but the whole, again, I go back to it, the whole video was not about that subject at all. The whole video was just about the group. It wasn't about that exactly. I was taking their own label and just using it. And then a bunch of people that have a bias against me and a warped way of thinking start going, oh man, we don't want politics. And I'm like, just how stupid they were. Because I'm like, well, you watch this guy, he talks about politics in his stream. That's weird when I see guys that don't like me and they just they don't stop and think about what they're saying. Well, I don't want to talk about politics. Well, dude, you actually or they don't want to watch guys that do politics. I'll be like, well, you do. It's just the reason you have no issue with that guy is he's saying things that you agree with, and he actually talks about politics. I don't. But guys were saying me just use the title of the video, and suddenly it was like, and a bunch of comments were aimed at me. It was aimed at me as if I was actually doing the thing, and I wasn't. But it's because they have listened. And it's like any shot people could take at me, they'll take. It's like, okay, all right. Well, it makes you stupid too, because you watch a lot of guys that actually talk about that stuff. I don't. I don't care for it. I don't care for these things. And if I say something, like I do choose a place on the internet where I talk about these things. But the way I look at it is like, it's how I keep it separate. And if you have a problem with what I say there, well, I'm not even talking to you. And it's like, look, dude, public figure or not, where I talk about tabletop role playing games is here on YouTube. So if I go somewhere else and I'm making comments about something else, it's like, well, dude, you're not my master. And just because I say something somewhere else doesn't mean I'm talking to the people in the hobby. Like that is not bringing, like if I mention something on some other platform that is neutral to talk about another topic separate from all this, that's the point, it's separate. So it's like, dude, that's not me bringing anything to the hobby. That's just you saying, you want to control what somebody says to the ultimate thing. It's like, no, you're not master. I'm not your slave. I view YouTube as the place where I talk about games. And when I come at this hobby and talk about stuff, I separate that stuff from this, right? And I do it here. So this is my focus. If I mention something somewhere else, like, dude, that's completely separate. That's me talking about on the topic if I want to there. Separate, completely separate. And I don't hold it over other people's heads that talk about things separately from what we're doing. And I don't think that if I represent myself as somebody in the hobby here, it doesn't mean I'm always representing that everywhere else I go. Like if I'm just on X, for example, well, that's just me as a human being on X. And I might talk about the game there, but I talk about other things too. But even when I talk about other things, it's not aimed at individuals in the hobby either. So it's like, dude, I take part in the conversation here. On X, I'm not really there to take a part of the conversation, or even when I do, it is the posts that are aimed at participating in the conversation. If I make a post separate from that, it is separate from that. I don't care if you're not intelligent enough to understand that. That's on you. That's not on me. And I won't take your criticism serious. Like, well, I don't bring that stuff into the hobby. Well, neither do I. So either you're intelligent enough to realize I don't, or you're going to be stupid as fuck and you don't have a brain to think with. And that's not my fault, dude. That's yours. So your stupidity won't be the reason I shut my mouth. Either you can understand that it's if I talk separate with other people about a certain topic, even publicly, it doesn't mean I'm bringing that to the hobby. And that's your stupidity that is judging it that way. And that's not a difference in opinion. I'm saying fact here. So it's like I really don't care if people are going to be stupid about these things. Like, that's on them. And I'm going to sit here and bow the knee to dumb people. It's like, no, dude, go read some more books, become more intelligent. I'm not going to allow you to control what I say on anywhere in life or anything with stupidity and biased thinking and just dumbness. That's on you. It's not me bringing something to the hobby. I don't. It's not like I'm just boom. When I seriously take part in the conversation, it's what I say into the conversation is that's it. That's what I'm saying. And now in the post I make towards tabletop role playing games, say somewhere, if I mention politics in that post, well, then I'm bringing politics to it. And then your criticism starts to work, right? If I put a label that somebody else is using to identify themselves, or it's a better way to identify them, even if it leans in that direction. Uh, but I actually, the purpose is not to talk about that. Well, that's not false advertising or nothing. That is me using a label to sort of separate a group so there's no confusion. And it's me using a label they use on themselves. So, and so there's no falsity there. It's a separation. It's an understanding of who I'm talking to or talking about. Right. I don't bow to stupid people. I never have. I'm not going to let dumb people control the dialogue here. That's on them. You want to be simple minded? That's on you. You should read some more books. You should improve yourself, not expect other people to bow to your stupidity. It's like I don't know much about life. Well, dude, well then I don't know why you think you're going to have a sway over the conversation or anything I say. Ain't going to happen. Simple minded thinking just isn't going to get you far. Not with me. That is the plan, Miles. Yep. To lead back into online gaming, I haven't done online gaming in a long time, so it wasn't like we had a few guys there talking about it, and then I pitched out. So I got it conveniently handy. I do. Will it blow up? Give me a second. Uh, Copy. Check it out if you want. It's a campaign pitch, right? So that's a campaign. There's a bit of a hook to lead into it, but who knows where that goes. And trust me, dude, I don't want 50 posts from you about what you assume. That's a conversation you have in private about things with players and stuff. You can read it over, take it in whatever way you want. That's it. Stream's not about that, and in less than 20 minutes or less than 30 minutes, I'm going to start the Fiend Folio coverage. So that's where we're going. Going to be fun, though. Should start by, I'm hoping the aim is to start Monday. So it'll be like every Monday. It's going to be like a weekly game. It's going to be a campaign, like a long campaign, not one shot, long campaign. So it's like every Monday. That's the So lead in. I just haven't done online gaming in a while, so I'll run it with these guys. Do they want to do it online or do it on live? No, no, this is not going to be one of those. But it's a start of something. So it's just getting comfortable with these guys, and then probably, you know, I'm going to be cutting back on streaming a bit there in August, sort of adjusting my streaming schedule, and that will probably open one other day going forward that I could possibly run something online, right? One other day. So once that change is officially made, it's just not official yet. Yeah, well then I may be running something else online that is like this is going to be a long campaign. I'm not going to commit to extremely long campaigns on other games. So I'm going to do what I do in life right now, which is in life I run a group that is a long campaign, and then I run games where I mean they're long. Some of them like they could be 50 sessions, but they're not going to be like forever type of things, like the World of Darkness thing I did recently. So more like, you know what I mean, like 50 sessions, 50 to 100, somewhere in there. This one could go on for quite some time, right? Because I can run this campaign up to like level 20. Kaboom! That's sort of the aim, like a long campaign. Which I love doing long campaigns. I'm a campaign, as I've said in the past, I would call myself a campaign game master. Means unless the game like Paranoia, I like see I want a door open where it is sort of shorter, not like 100 session games that is the secondary game I do in life. And that way, if I want to run something like Paranoia, that could be like, I mean, it could be 10 to 20 sessions, depending. Then I can run shorter games. Sounds good. But yeah, I got a whole theme. Is there a initial starting hook? Pretty much. I mean, there's something where player characters are on their way to a place or just arriving, say, when it starts, where they've agreed to go do something for somebody, and it's not a railroad, but there's a hint of a like it could be, but it's not going to be that. It's just I don't want to say more than that, which is basically would be my response to the guys, right? It's one of those things where I want to do something interesting. No, just don't want to. I just don't want to turn this into the stream of the topic on the recording thing. That's the point. Plus, I know you'll it's I'm not uninterested in answering the questions. It's just there's a time and place for the conversation. Uh, when it's just almost time for me to start covering the Fiend Folio, and that's the aim of tonight's stream. This is not a place for that longer conversation, right? So I don't mind having it. Mostly willing to have it with the players, though. They're most of them are, I would assume, busy making characters. Shouldn't have to be too busy. Uh, but yeah, that's I want guys to get their characters done. That's the aim, and they're gonna find out. I want the characters done by Sunday. That's really the aim for sure is to have them done by Sunday because I don't do half-assing, and that's a red flag for me on players. So that's it. And I do a lot of work as a DM, as a game master. So I expect players to give a fuck on minor things. So it's like if you come in like, well, I just got it done like 10 minutes before. Well, then when you can sit out. Yeah. No big issue. I don't care. Trust me, I'll pace them, I'll hear them. And doesn't matter to me. I've done them always. Black Rose, I ran 27 campaigns on just audio. I ran, if you count the Open RPG on text, I did almost 40. When you have that level of experience, and I ran about 2,000 sessions plus in just audio. I've done some on cam. I've done, and that's a lot of gaming online. That's consistent weeks and weeks and new groups, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks like a machine. And then probably did, if you count like almost the 40 campaigns I did, That's almost like doing math because I count. Uh, it's between like 3,000 and 4,000, somewhere there. I won't say the exact number. Just leave a comment. I mean, I'll give you a link. All right. So if you want to leave a comment on this afterwards, and just say, "Yeah, I'd like to join Discord." Sure. I mean, you can email Miles. Just say who you are. Like, identify yourself. But the link only works once, so it wouldn't matter if you shared it out or not. And don't be inviting people to the fucking Discord unless you ask. Like, that's a big rule. There's so many troublemakers out there. So it's like, oh, I just invited my friend. Well, you and your fucking friend can go. So don't do that. You don't have the authority. I'm not giving it to you. But you can join, yes. Just gotta ask me. Look, I hate to be a prick, but you gotta be. I have to sort of push back on some things because so many people fuck around that I'm just like I'm in the zone of, hey, if you're not fucking around, it shouldn't even be a problem that you ask me first. That's courteous. Hey, can I have my friend join for this reason? Well, I can think it over for a second, ask you a question. Sure, why not? But people, they don't want to be courteous and just boom. Yeah, I've had so many troublemakers in the past come to the Discord. Oh, I hear you, but it's got to understand there's been a few guys that have done that where I've had to get after them. And they'll be inviting in someone who doesn't like me. And that person blows. Like, I've actually had a guy where he's invited a guy who he didn't realize that guy didn't like me. So then this guy starts spamming my Discord on one of the stream nights. I was doing a stream here and we're fucking having a good go. And then right in the middle of me doing the thing, the Discord starts blowing up. And it's because a guy that I guess I was cool with, his friend didn't like me, and he invited his friend without asking. And he did that during the stream. And his friend came in purposely with the intention of spamming the entire Discord thing. So, and it was intentional. It's completely intentional. He was like there bragging afterwards. I blew up his Discord to get his attention, like to sort of screw up the stream. And this is a guy who's in his late 40s doing this. An old school tabletop role playing game community member. In his late 40s, I'm doing a stream just talking with gaming stuff with people and doing one of the rundowns I'm doing. And the guy does that. And I'm like, you're in your late 40s and you're doing this? Like, Jesus, God. Grow up and be a real man. A real man would never do something like that. That's pathetic. Just, I can get if it was like a 13-year-old kid pissed off at me and acting that way, but it's like, you're how old? 48? And Braden. And then other guys that are in their 50s and their late 40s are all like, yeah. I'm like, so let alone the behavior is like a 13-year-old child. Even the reaction he's getting. It's like you realize how many immature people are around, sadly, around the old school. Right? It's like I get it though. I totally get it. Big kids. Big kids. There's just a lot of weird people in the hobby. Then there's some people in the new school that don't like me either. Not many, not as many, but a few. Especially when it comes to the politics, they focus a bit too much on it. I'll say something I think is just more neutral. Like I think representation is a stupid thing in the hobby because the whole point of it is escapism and the fact that you're going to play someone who's not you. So the idea that you're escaping the real world. So it wasn't about politics to me. It was just about the concept of it not working in this hobby when the whole point is you're purposely looking to not represent the troubles and shit that you have from the real world. You're escaping it. So, it's you start realizing to escape your problems, you don't bring your problems to the game. You don't bring your problems into the world. Like you're literally looking to play someone else separate from you, different from you. I thought that was stupid. There's a few guys on Reddit that you would say politically on the opposing side who took that and it blew up. It blew up because I make a really credible case for why representation is really, really dumb and something that is actually counterproductive to what we do in the hobby. It's actually the whole point of what we do is to counter that. Like that's purposely we don't do it. And we don't do it because we're opposed to something or playing unfair. It's just it's the whole point of the hobby is to escape, not to bring the problems to the table, right? And everyone I've known over the years, whenever you ask them, my greatest example was when they were doing the wheelchair thing, the wheelchair class, and I'm like, dude, well, I ran for a lot of military people. I come from my family was Navy, and so I came as being family to like civilian family in the military. You would go and be able to take part in certain things. So when I started gaming early, I was in a community of gamers, war gamers, and tabletop role playing gamers that were all like military people, Army, Navy, Air Force. And I ran the game for a lot of guys in wheelchairs. And every one of them were happy to play someone, not them, or in their situation. I asked quite a few of them when that jokingly they brought that class up, would they ever play that class? And all of them said no, like absolutely not. Like I'm in the wheelchair. I don't want to bring that to the game. I want to be able to play a character like you and be able to run around. Like that was their excitement, was escaping the real issues they have in life and being able to do crazy things. It's like I can't cast magic, but in the game I can, right? I'm not this superhero warrior, but in the game I can be, right? So you're escaping your own limitations. So I'm escaping my limitations the same way the guy in the wheelchair would be escaping his. And we're purposely trying to escape problems and limitations. You're not trying to bring your limitations to the game. You don't need them represented. You're actually trying to get away from them. So they said no, they would never play that class ever. So the point of representation of you're being some nice person was to them stupid and had nothing to do with what we do in this hobby. And we have a great hobby that was ahead of its time. You go back in the 80s, and that Miles, the insulting part is to have people pretend they got to be heroes to a hobby. So it's not political for me. It's just they pretend they got to be heroes to our hobby. It's like, dude, we were one of the most welcoming places at a time when you might even say some weren't. We were ahead of our time. Anyone can come to the table. And it's a past that we should be proud of, that anybody could, right? And when you meet nerds, you realize they don't care what the people look like. It's like, look, the only reason like they say, well, there was less black people coming into say to the hobby in the 80s. Bullshit. Every black person I met that was a nerd never looked at a white knight and said, I don't want to play this game. They looked and seen a knight, and then they wanted to play the game for what it was. The people that you see nowadays enter the hobby not because they're represented, it's because it's more socially accepted to play the game. Right? You would have been called a loser back in the 80s. Now you're not. They're not here because there's a black character in an image, like what you would call certain people. It's they're here because it's more socially accepted for them to be here without being called like an idiot. They care more about how they come across than they do about the game. I never met a black nerd that was interested or wouldn't be interested because, well, there's not a black character, so I guess it's not trying to appeal to me. If you were made for this hobby, if your mindset was for this hobby, if you were someone who's going to see the stuff related to this hobby, it wouldn't matter if the guy was purple or white or green. You would still be interested and you would join. And depending on where you went, like especially in parts of the States, you can go like to California, where I knew gaming groups back in the 80s that were all say non-white. You would call like Mexican players, black players. Go to Japan. Japan was not a white nation. All kinds of role playing happened there, right? Arabs in different places played the games. So there was never this part where you needed to represent someone to appeal to them to get them to come to the hobby. That's a lie. And that's a powerful, bold-faced lie. So we were ahead of our time, and anybody who showed interest in the game could play at the table. And I mean anybody. We were one of the most welcoming places ever. Period. So my thing is not about politics, but it's more about just the lies of today, where a bunch of people come in and pretend that we had a bigoted past when we didn't, and then pretend that they got to save us when we didn't. Well, you're backing my point up there. That's exactly it. Like nobody cared. Everyone just did what they wanted to do in this hobby, and there was never this whole thing. So I'm happy with the history, I guess, of the hobby being open to anyone, if you want to say it that way. We never had a bigoted past, nor did I care. To be honest, part of me doesn't really care about it at all. Uh, I, but then there's a part of me that just knows it's all a lie. It's just we have a bunch of people that are in the new school gaming that pretend they're heroes. They pretend they're here to save us from something, but there was nothing for them to save us from. Period. Like it's just a complete lie. It's all made up, and I mean 100% of it made up. And I don't care if you find some kids like, well, I know a story where a girl got kicked out of a game. Well, let me guess, they were all like 10, 11 year olds. Well, yeah, but I mean, still, shut up, dude. It's not the same thing. And some individual stories where there were some jerks in the past doesn't represent the hobby. There's jerks today. There's always going to be jerks. You can't get around some bad behavior. It doesn't mean that bad behavior represents the hobby. Bad behavior is everywhere and everything. That means everything, even the things you think are good, are bad. If that's the case, right? We'd have to judge it that way. You don't, obviously. The vast majority were completely open. So it's just a fake out today. Complete fake. They pretend they need to save us. They're not going to save us from anything. And if they weren't trying to control the hobby, which is what they want to do, or push certain things on it, they would be happy about the past if they were honest people. That'd be it. They wouldn't have to do the representation, nothing. If they cared about the issue the way they say, boom. But it has nothing to do with actually caring about bigotry. It's what you call wanting to take over something, to control something. That's what they want. They use these things as an excuse to try to take over something. And that's honestly the aim of it. Right. The problem is what happened with WotC is they don't realize they lost a massive amount of people because what they're pushing only appeals to a few people. Even the majority of WotC people I meet that play WotC games, over 90% of the players and DMs do not care for this stuff and ignore it. Why? Because when you get to the group of people that actually enjoy this or care about this stuff, they make up less than 10% of the entire population in just about every nation that you run into them. And then you have to cut it down to, out of that less than 10%, maybe 1% is actually in the hobby. And that means even when you get over to the world that you think they represent, what you find out is when you get to the WotC D&D players, is over 90% of WotC D&D players are neutral people that do not care about none of this. Socially acceptable is good enough to get them in. The stuff with the, as they say, the blue-haired people, they don't care about it. They don't care about none of it. And most of them ignore all this stuff in their games. And notice, go check out a lot of live gaming and realize most of the so-called representation doesn't even exist. And these are in live plays for 5e that are done by players right on YouTube and everything. And if you watch some of that, Miles, you know what I'm talking about. Almost all of it, almost all the stuff you think they're pushing for certain reasons, all of it gets ignored. And people don't even sort of realize they're ignoring it. They're just naturally doing it. And that's because most WotC players and DMs don't care for the stuff. That's it. When it became more socially acceptable, that's what got a lot more people in the hobby. That was a big change, right? You don't get spit on now. That's it. Back in the 80s, you could, if you ran to the wrong kind of people and told them that you played D&D, you were a nerd, and you might get stuff thrown at you, and you might even get beat up or for real have your head shoved in the toilet. Doesn't mean everybody went through that, but some people did. Okay, guys. It's the last one. And after this, we're going to dive into the Fiend Folio. That's it. That's my only take. And I said that stuff not to really be political. It was just because it was such a powerful push from the WotC era that it became a subject in the hobby. And made it a subject in the hobby. And the only way to speak on it is to be accused, I guess, of speaking about politics. But what I did was I don't mention the politics of the people in that way, like as if I care about that. I mentioned about the the cultural push of stuff they're trying to do into a hobby that where it doesn't fit. And you can't speak on this stuff unless you say something. And there has to be pushback, right? It's okay to actually, that's part of the dialogue. It's okay to do pushback on that stuff. And if somebody wants to shut you up, any pushback is you talking politics. Well, guess what? Any push on that stuff is political talk as well. So when they say they need representation, that's politics. So they can't they can sit there and pretend that like that. Oh, that's just a majority view. No, it's not. That's a minority view, and that's a political push. You're not pushing just cultural ideas into the hobby. You're pushing your politics into the hobby, and your politics has sway with the biggest company in the entire industry. So the only way to counter that and to speak on it is to talk about what they're doing. And if somebody says, well, you blah, 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 I'd be like, well, dude, you can't have it where they can keep pushing their politics and keep talking about the stuff. But anybody who would speak up, opposed to any of the stuff is somehow pressured to shut their mouth because they're going to be accused of talking about politics. That's poison. And that's deceit. That's complete deceit. Right. I mean, yes, there is creative ways you can talk about it, like I think, like I have, without just making it all just about politics, but culturally. But you can't let stuff like that just go on, especially when it has that much sway. If it was just some guys crying in the corner about wanting to push your stuff in, but it wasn't having success and no company was backing it, okay, fair enough. No point of even mentioning it. Let them shoot their mouth off, ignore it, right? But when they have the entire WotC thing behind them, and a powerful push into the hobby, well, it becomes a one-sided push. They're pushing something that doesn't belong here, and nobody has the right to say something about that. It's all deceit. That's gobbledygook, right? It's either, if you're going to say that one side doesn't have the right to say it, you got to also say their side has no right to push these ideas. Then you're being fair. You're saying, hey, they got to get their cultural stuff up because that's not cultural in the way they're put. That's politics. So once you realize that's politics they're pushing, you have to say, well, you don't want one side doing it or like countering it. Well, then you need to also say the opposing side shouldn't even be able to push these ideas because it is politics. And you can't pretend that it's not. Which is people don't want bigotry. Yeah, but that's politics. Well, no. We already have bigotry is not accepted in the hobby in that way. So to push on it further with the intent to take over the thing, that's not caring about the issue at all. That is politics behind that whole thing. And you got to call it for what you got to call it out for what it is. Period. You can't pretend that it's not. So it's like that's the best way I put it to people. Either you want to say both sides, it's like, okay, Stephen, you shut up about it. And WotC needs to stop pushing the stuff because it is politics. Fair enough. You got to say the blue hair person. What they're pushing isn't just cultural, it's politics. Because it is. It's an ideology behind it. And if you attach an ideology to something you're pushing like that, it's politics. Like that is something more than just a cultural push. And we got to be able to see it for what it really is. And I don't oppose certain people bringing cultural stuff. I'm totally fine with that. But it's like, nope, if you're attaching the politics to it, you just got to be able to take heat. And I'm not saying anything should be outlawed. Like they shouldn't be allowed to do it. It's just I think it's healthy in a free speech zone or where the public square of ideas, where hey, if they can do that, people can speak against it. And if you're okay with that part, I'm fine with it. I don't care. I don't care if they keep pushing, as long as it's just socially okay to have a critique against it. Public square of ideas. Let's compete. Let's compete. Let's see. Let the audience decide how they want to react to what's being said. If we're going to play there, fine. If we're going to play an unfair game where it's unpopular ideas that would fail to live up in debate, and you just want the person that would be against it to shut up so it can achieve itself, even though it would fall apart in actual debate, then I'm against it. Let people test it. And if it's going to hold, it's going to hold because of that. But I think we went through years of not saying anything about it because people stupidly took a really weird look at the thing, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about politics in that way, but I'm willing to confront the issue if politics is coming into the hobby, right? But if you shut up about it for years, what it does, it keeps climbing in and making things worse, and making things worse, and making things worse. And it just got to a point where I think things blew up because people should have just been calmly criticizing it from the get go. But in this hobby, we have a lot of people that have spent years being successful through the decades, shutting people down, shutting debates down, where they did their famous thing. You bring it up in a year, it's like, oh, look at what Watsy's doing. The people that complain, what they'll always act like they're losing something. Like, man, or whatever, they win everywhere. Every year they would win and shut people down from trying to push back, so that it make things worse. Next year, somebody would try to push back. Oh, they're going to get pressured. Don't want to hear you're talking about blah, blah, blah. Okay, the complainers that are complaining about your criticism win. They win every year. Shut you down. Finally, after about 8 years of this nonstop pushing of this stuff without any real pushback, finally the problems are so huge that the guys complain and go, wait, we got a real problem here. But I'm like, yeah, but some of this stuff is too late. It's too late to push it out. But they're even acknowledging it has to be pushed out. But I'm like, well, no, you had to do that 8 years ago when it started. You can't let it linger on for 8 years because now you're at the too late stage for a lot of these things. And so the same guys that said we don't want to say anything, they start trying to push back against it. They go from complaining about you doing it to now they're trying to push back, and they failed. So, sort of weird. But just common practice in this hobby. You want to talk about a subject of the hobby? Oh, people don't want to hear about it. And they'll shut down the debate, and the next year they act like, oh man, we're losing. They're bringing it up again. I'm like, no, dude. The reason I got shut down last year is because you won. You're shutting down the conversation in debate one, and you'll win again this year, and you'll win next year. And that's why the issues that relate to these debates, the reason the debates are even happening, or attempting to people have them out, the issues haven't gone away. And that's what a lot of guys don't realize. Debates don't come out of nowhere. Arguments like this aren't going to come out of nowhere. They exist and come in for a reason. And just crying and whining about somebody debating doesn't make the issues go away. It might shut down the debate for a little while. But the issues remain. So the arguments will start up next year. And then the arguments start up the next year. And if every year you just, oh, what are you going to debate? Well, it's like, okay, well, you're going to win again. Everyone's going to shut up because you're fucking crying about it. Okay, you've won. Next year, you'll act like you're losing somehow. But no, you're winning every year. You're shutting down all the debates we're trying to have because these issues exist. And just imagine. I mean, I've been around the hobby for decades. There are issues and debates that I know I'll understand. I'll understand why they're happening. But then I'll hear the people bitch about people having the debate. And so the debate is shut down. Or if you have one small debate, that's enough, no more. That's not how that goes, dude. And a lot of I've been around the debating world. I know how debates really how it works out. There's some major issues where debates have to start, and it takes years to get to a good place in debating. Because when you first start on a subject where you've never really seen debating happen before, it's going to be messy because you haven't even found the right people to debate yet. Right? There's a discovery process, like an evolution. And when it first starts, it's going to be really messy. People arguing, people misunderstanding. Some people that should not be debating are going to be in the debates. We don't even know that yet. And you got to let the debate happen and happen and happen and happen. And as it happens, it evolves. Better arguments come into the picture. Guys who weren't good at putting certain arguments, like early on good, they'll get splashed out. Higher quality people will start taking over the positions. And people that just could not hang for real, but maybe hung like early on, they'll get squashed out. The debate will clean up. And because you're having the debates over and over again, bitter feelings start to slide a bit. Because at the start, you're arguing or debating for sometimes very passionate reasons. There's a lot of emotions involved, and people need to Be allowed to have the argument, have the debate, so you can calm down this side of things. And that could take 1, 2, 3 years just to see it calm down. And at the same time, during those 3 or 4 years, you're gonna get better quality people stepping in, and emotions calm down, and you keep letting debates happen. And over years, they evolve. High quality people step in, emotions are cooled down, and emotions are cooled down because people are better educated because of the debates. Because we've allowed people to say whatever, you've been able to hear better arguments, better arguments, better arguments. The audience that keeps paying attention to the debates is better informed, better informed. Next year, they're better informed, better informed, better informed. And through that, it cleans up. The audience calms down because they're no longer stupid about the topic. They're way more educated about it. And because they're way better educated, people that aren't so good at debating again they're just not gonna hold up. Better arguments are gonna put them aside. And better people that can argue are going to come into the picture. And then at a certain point, you realize just how effectively good the debating is, because it improves the dialogue. And at one point, after many years, the debates become exciting. They're no longer messy. The audience is better informed, and you know you're going to learn something. And it's almost like an entertaining sport. Like it just becomes so good because the quality of debates are like up here now, right? Now they're worth having. Now you're excited to have the debates because they're just not what they were 7 years earlier, say, for example. They're not the messy thing. And you're not as emotional because you've learned a lot during this time. So now it's entertaining, it's an informing thing, it's healthy, and you realize because you've allowed the debates to go on, debating is good. Getting the ideas out there. Oh, how does he handle it? Let's see how he handles this. We spent 50 years in this tabletop role-playing game hobby, taking almost every debate we have and squashing it at the starting point. So we have stuff in here that hasn't even had a day one properly. That needs to go through that mess. Like needs to. Like it's a requirement. And for us to have good, fun, educational debates in the hobby, we're still at the starting point where it could take up to 7 or so years to clean that up. So, and it's like I keep telling people, it's like, dude, we've had 50 years. You've never let it start. And if you ever do let it start, understand, it can't just be debate for a week. Like the messy part has to happen. It could take years for debating but it becomes really good for the hobbies. It becomes good for other hobbies too when you allow the arguments. Like the tabletop role-playing game hobby would be better off to allow it. It would improve. It'd be exciting. We get better ideas. Game designers would learn more. People trying to participate in the hobby would learn more. It would be a lot of fun over time. But you got to go through that really, really, really sort of ugly, messy side. And that ugly, messy side could be with us for like a year, 2 years, 3 years. And if you don't let the messy side get sorted, we're at day one. And then we have a lot of issues that people can't even talk about properly. That's why they walk on eggshells. Just so stupid. Anyway, let's begin. Let's begin. Coverage of the Fiend Folio. So, influences and birth of the Fiend Folio 1981. Experienced players wanted new monsters. When the Monster Manual was released in 1977, it provided dungeon masters with hundreds of creatures drawn from mythology, folklore, fantasy literature, and original TSR creations. As more groups gained experience with AD&D, many players became familiar with the strengths, weaknesses, and tactics of these monsters. Dungeon masters increasingly looked for new creatures that could surprise veteran players and create encounters where prior knowledge was less useful. This growing demand helped fuel an explosion of original monster creations throughout the late 1970s, with magazines, fanzines regularly publishing reader-designed creatures. Britain developed its own D&D identity. While Gary Gygax and TSR shaped the American game, a distinct British D&D community quickly emerged. At the center of that community was Games Workshop, which at the time served as TSR's licensed distributor in the United Kingdom. Long before Warhammer became its primary focus, Games Workshop imported TSR products, organized conventions, and published White Dwarf, one of the world's leading role-playing magazines. Because British designers weren't working directly with TSR's Lake Geneva circle, their ideas often developed independently. Their monsters tended to be more unusual, atmospheric, and unpredictable than those rooted in traditional mythology. Many historians have noted that the style found in the Fiend Folio foreshadows ideas that would later become common in British fantasy gaming, including fighting fantasy and Warhammer. The Fiend Factory. The single greatest influence on the Fiend Folio was a magazine called Fiend Factory, which debuted in White Wolf Dwarf issue number 6 in 1978 under editor Don Turnbull. Rather than designing every monster himself, Turnbull invited readers to submit their own creations. Each issue featured a selection of the best entries, along with Turnbull's editorial comments explaining why certain monsters worked and how they might be improved. His goal wasn't simply to publish stronger monsters. Instead, he favored creatures that dungeon masters could realistically use and play monsters that were imaginative, memorable, and capable of creating interesting encounters rather than simply having larger statistics. Don Turnbull's design philosophy. Turnbull contributed much more than editing. Earlier, he had developed the monster mark system, an attempt to estimate the relative difficulty of monsters. Although it wasn't the same as modern challenge rating, it represented one of the earliest efforts to systematically measure monster power in D&D. Turnbull believed memorable monsters came from interesting abilities and situations rather than raw combat strength. This philosophy influenced many Fiend Folio creatures, which often feature unusual movement, strange ecologies, psychological effects, or unique tactical challenges instead of simply dealing more damage. A community-built monster book. Today, we would probably describe the Fiend Folio as a crowd-funded project. During 1978 and 1979, readers from across Britain and beyond submitted hundreds of original monsters to the Fiend Factory. Turnbull selected the strongest entries, edited them for consistency with AD&D, and expanded many of them before publication. Most contributors were ordinary dungeon masters and hobbyists, like myself, though a handful would later become professional game designers. This collaborative approach made the Fiend Folio one of the earliest and most significant official D&D books built largely from reader submissions. Originally planned by Games Workshop, the original intention was for Games Workshop to publish the book as an official AD&D hardcover, effectively serving as the game's second major monster collection after the Monster Manual. Don Turnbull completed the manuscript in 1979 with TSR's approval. However, business disagreements and contractual issues between TSR and Games Workshop delayed publication for nearly 2 years. Rather than appearing through Games Workshop, the book was eventually published directly by TSR in August 1981, becoming one of the earliest major products produced through TSR UK. Why the book feels different. The publication delay meant many monsters had been designed several years before the book finally appeared. By 1981, AD&D had continued to evolve through new adventures and supplements, causing some of the reviewers to feel portions of the collection reflected an earlier stage of the game's development. At the same time, many readers appreciated how different the monsters felt compared to those in the Monster Manual, praising their originality and willingness to experiment with new ideas. TSR expanded the collection. The Fiend Folio wasn't composed entirely of reader submissions. TSR also incorporated several creatures that had previously appeared in published adventures, including Drow, Kuatoa, Saverf, Neblin, and Germain. The book also updated encounter tables to account for monsters from both the Monster Manual and new volume, helping integrate the collection into ongoing AD&D campaigns. An unexpected business consequence. The publication of the Fiend Folio also affected miniature production. Citadel Miniatures have produced figures based on several creatures that first appeared in the Fiend Factory. Once many of those monsters became official TSR intellectual property through the Fiend Folio, Citadel could no longer freely market miniatures based on them, as TSR now controlled those creatures and already had licensing agreements with other miniature manufacturers. The lasting legacy. Although reviews at the time were mixed, history has been very kind to the Fiend Folio. It introduced numerous monsters that became enduring parts of D&D, including the Githyanki, the Gith Their Eye, Slatty, Death Knight, Hook Horror, Grell, Ettercap, Zill, Flail Snail, Adherer. More importantly, the book marked a shift in monster design philosophy. Where the original monster manual drew heavily from mythology, folklore, token, and classic fantasy literature, the Fiend Folio emphasized original concepts built around gameplay. Many of its creatures were designed to surprise experienced players through unusual mechanics, strange behaviors, distinctive ecologies, or unexpected tactical challenges rather than simply increasing combat difficulty. So there's your fluff, your sort of backstory on the Fiend Folio, a British design. Okay. So I'm going to jump around here. I got some details. So I got notes on each one of these. So let's talk. So that's the first one. That's the first one. I got to get like multiple things up in here. Important details, fair enough. Let's start with the Githyanki. Now, look, many of you will know the Githyanki from like Baldur's Gate 3, and a lot of these monsters, some of these monsters, not a lot of them, some of these monsters will have different versions of them going forward. So many of you will know what they are. I'm looking at my coverage here like a time capsule. I am focused on the Fiend Folio version of these things. So Githyanki, we'll start off with the appearance of the Githyanki. Githyanki are tall, thin humanoids with an alien appearance. Common features: yellowish skin, lean, wiry bodies, long, sharp facial features, dark hair, pointed ears. They look like a strange, otherworldly humanoid rather than a traditional fantasy species. Their clothing and equipment reflect a warrior's culture, often appearing as armed soldiers rather than mystical beings. Okay. The Githyanki are one of the most important creations from the Fiend Folio. They were created by Charles Stross and first appeared in White Wolf magazine before becoming an official AD&D monster. Their inclusion helped establish one of D&D's earliest original fantasy races that was not based directly on mythology or token. The Githyanki are a race that escaped enslavement by mind flayers. Their identity is built around hatred of illithids and survival beyond the normal mortal world, especially on the astral plane. How they fight. Githyanki are organized and intelligent opponents. They rely on strong melee ability, psionic powers. Some forget this because this is something big in the Fiend Folio. Tactical coordination, leadership and planning. Unlike many monsters that simply attack, Githyanki think like soldiers. A good Githyanki encounter involves scouting the enemy, choosing favorable terrain, attacking with a plan, retreating if necessary. Their greatest danger is not a single ability, it is their intelligence and organization. Now, here's some important details. So, the Githyanki are not just warrior humanoids. Their original identity in the Fiend Folio already includes advanced intelligence, organized military behavior, and psionic abilities. Combat. So it really is necessary to point out their psionic powers are a major threat, or meant to be, right? They fight tactically rather than blindly attacking. Leaders are significantly more powerful than normal members. So that's the Githyanki. You guys are I'm I can go through each one here. If you want to make comments on any of the monsters as I go through here, fine, do that. This is going to be a rare night where I'm a bit more casual on this stuff because I'm okay with slowing down. I got multiple things open. It's not like a big rundown. I'm going one monster at a time here. So that's a start. That's the gift making. Just a little bit more casual tonight. Sorry, folks. Just going to be how it is. Okay. The next is the Death Knight. And I don't really got to go over the appearance of the Death Knight. I'm not going to. I mean, like I could be like they're powerful undead warriors. I mean, someone who doesn't know. The Death Knight appears as a powerful undead warrior. Armored body, dark intimidating appearance, a dead or corrupted face, supernatural presence. A fallen knight who has returned as an undead champion. Avoid the idea that it must always have an exact skull, face, flaming helmet appearance, as seen in later editions. You don't got to do that right up front with these. Describe them. Don't name them until after. Roll for wisdom, see if they can figure it. Yep. Sometimes you hope you get a good DM that's going to actually give a decent description instead of like you being afterwards going, man, your description sucked. Like you just hope I totally hear you. I always hope the DM is going to hit it out of the park, and then even if I fail, it's like, okay, fair enough. Fair. I should have figured that out. Right. But yes, it's quite fun. Quite fun. Okay. So we just talked about the Gift Yankee, Bill. Welcome here, man. I'm glad you're here for this. Just went over I did the fluff at the start on this already on the whole Fiend Folio background. We started with the Gift Yankee because it's like, I would say, one of the most well-known monsters that has had quite a bright future, obviously, especially with the Baldur's Gate 3 recently. Quite a bright future in the D&D world. So the background for Death Knight. The Death Knight is one of the most successful undead monsters ever created for D&D. It represents the idea of a once great warrior corrupted into an undead champion. The creature became even more famous later through Lord Soth in Dragonlance, but its origins are in the Fiend Folio. So how they fight, a Death Knight is not just a powerful undead creature, it fights like an evil fallen warrior. They have exceptional combat ability, powerful defenses, fair effects, so they can make you afraid, run away, magical abilities. Their most infamous attack in AD&D 1E is their devastating magical fire attack, functioning similarly to a massive fireball capable of destroying groups of adventurers. The threat of a Death Knight comes from the combination warrior skill, undead resilience, and devastating magic. There's some other details here. Let me just make sure. No, that pretty much covers it. That's good. I'm happy about that. So there you go. Death Knight. They can do a big fireball, take out a fucking group of people. Sorry about the cursing. Eliminate a group of people. They can make you afraid, so you're down on your knees, pissing yourself. Obviously, they have great resilience, and they're going to be good warriors. And these were already famous before the famous Lord Soth of Dragonlance. Right? They first appear here in the Fiend Folio, Death Knight. The Fiend Folio created a few number of monsters here that definitely have a long lasting place in the D&D world. This is one of them. Okay. So far, Gift Yankee, Death Knight. Now we're going to move on to the Slaadi, Slaadi. Let's go into the description for these things. The Slaadi, the Slaadi, whatever you want to call them. Okay, so there's several. I'm going to go into some detail here. Okay, the Slaadi are large frog-like humanoid creatures. They have an amphibian heads, or they have amphibian heads, large eyes, powerful humanoid bodies, clawed hands, frog-like features, different forms have different appearances. Red Slod, a smaller, reddish frog-like creature. Blue Slod, a larger blue version with more powerful build. Green Slod, a more advanced and magical-looking form. Gray Slod, a more unusual and powerful form. Death Slod, a terrifying elite form with more monstrous appearance. Their appearance communicates chaos and alien, like an alien nature. Oh, for the Fiend Folio here, I'll give you guys a good link. I'll give you a really good link that will save you from avoiding that issue. This is really handy. I'll share this with the audience. I plan to give it like a gift. Kaboom! It's a really neat thing. You can zoom in and go from page to page to page to page to page. Enjoy. That may hand you when the chat comes up. That's a great link. Like if you don't have the Fiend Folio, you can save yourself with that. And I hear you, fakes come up. That will let you avoid or check if you want to. But agreed, Bill. Agreed. But there's a good way to check just to make sure you're safe if that's the case. It's a great link. Slotty. Background. The Slotty are among the most important planar creatures introduced in the Fiend Folio. They come from limbo, representing chaos and unpredictability. They are not they are not simply another type of evil outsider. Their purpose is to represent the force of chaos itself, making them a major part of later D&D cosmology. The Fiend Folio introduced several types of Slotty, including Red Slotty, or the Red Slod, Blue Slod, Green, Death. I just went over these. How they fight. Slotty are dangerous because they combine physical power with unusual abilities, powerful melee attacks, special abilities, magical powers, chaotic tactics. They are not disciplined like devils or organized like demons. Their greatest weapon is unpredictability. Pretty good. Oh, pretty good on detail. So the green slotty are like these big frog-like creatures. At least the initial one is like sort of like a humanoid. They're not organized, so it's where you can take advantage for the fact that they're not organized, right, at all. But they are unpredictable. You never know when they're going to just turn and do something else, right? Now that could be a benefit depending on the situation, or it could be something that just you think like, okay, are we able to move away from this thing? What's not coming near us? And then it just turns around and runs at you. Like, just like, what the fuck? So, in that way, or the way it will fight you could be like using its powers or something like that, or just doing powerful melee stuff. You never know. And you want to be really random as a DM when you're running these things, right? On purpose. On purpose. So that's the slotty, big frog creatures. And now there's the Githzerai. That's what I'm going to call them. The Githzerai. They're slightly different than I would say the Githyanki. They're not slightly. So here's the appearance of the Githzerai. The Githzerai are physically very similar to Githyanki. I mean, they are. They have thin humanoid bodies, yellowish complexions, sharp, unusual facial features, an alien quality compared to humans. The original distinction between the two groups is more cultural and sort of like philosophy and than physical. So it's they do look similar, but they are in ways they're not. Right. So it's like if you see two human groups that are distinctively different, you'll notice the difference, even though they have similarities. They are not yet visually separated by later like monk-like imagery. So some people got to remember like the Githzerai at the time look a lot more like the Githyanki, but if you know these things later, they start definitely being made out to look a lot different on purpose. The Githzerai are the other branch of the original Gith race. Where the Githyanki embraced conquest and revenge, the Githzerai became focused on discipline and mental control. So they in the Fiend Folio they present them as like powerful psionic humanoid race connected to the planes. Later editions developed their monk-like philosophy and their relationship with Limbo in much greater detail. It just wasn't the case at the time. A lot of people know them related to that, and that is sort of how they start looking a lot different later. But at the time of the Fiend Folio, they do look a lot similar to, well, obviously they look like Githyanki. Okay, so how they fight. The Githzerai rely on psionic abilities, discipline, mobility, tactical thinking. They fight with control rather than brute force. Their style is strike carefully, use mental powers, avoid unnecessary risk. They are dangerous because they combine intelligence with supernatural abilities. So the Githyanki, how can I say the difference in if you're running them as a DM? The Githyanki definitely are up more for the physical fight than anything, right? Even though they have the same abilities. Where the difference with the Githzerai is they're going to use the psionics a lot more than say their counterparts with the Githyanki. They're not going to run into battle. They're not these psychotic warriors. They're way more calm. Hence the monk appearance that comes later is they have a more calming approach, easier to negotiate with, stuff like this. Okay. Okay. This is the fifth monster we're going to cover, the hook horror. Any comments? Free to make them if you know anything about this stuff. The hook horror. Okay. The hook horror. We'll start with the parents. The hook horror is a large underground predator. Features tall insect-like body, hard outer shell, bird-like or vulture-like head, large hooked arms. The hooks are the defining visual feature. It looks like a creature adapted for hunting in caves. So these like they have like a bird-like head with these like big hooks like this. Like they definitely do not look like something that would be flying. Don't mistaken the description of the head being bird-like. They do look exactly like they would be underground or something. Like these big hooks to hook into you. They look pretty crazy and like a hard shell-like body. The Hulk horror is one of the classic monsters that that help define the Underdark. It is a strange subterranean predator with a bird-like head, as we already talked about, and a hard exoskeleton. It also has its enormous hooked arms. The creature represents one of the Fiend Folio's greatest strengths, creating monsters that felt completely original. How they fight. Hook horrors are hunters. They use powerful hooks. They use powerful hook attacks, climbing ability, underground awareness, ambush tactics. They are especially dangerous in caves where they understand their environment. A hook horror encounter works best when the monster controls the battlefield. So they'll be way aware of the battlefield, like they underground or they understand where they're going to be fighting. Meaning they're not like the Slotty. They're not unpredictable. They're actually quite predictable. But that predictability can work against you because they'll surround you. Like they'll set up, they'll hide, they'll wait till you move in. They love to ambush. So ambushing is a big thing for them. So expect to be caught off guard by this type of monster, right? But there you go. The hook horror. Every monster I'm mentioning tonight, it's not hard to go look up an image of these guys. And I didn't plan for the images. I just didn't have time to really. And if I was going to put up the images, I would probably have to go through each artist. I just didn't have the time to organize that out. I've been busy for like the last week. In the bit of free time I had, I just been doing some other projects. So sorry about that. But I mean, anybody's welcome. Finding a hook horror, any of these monsters I'm mentioning tonight, I'll give you the description, but it's not hard to find an image. You can Google it. You can, whatever system you use. The Grell. The Grell. Appearance. The Grell is a floating alien creature. Round, it has a round and bulbous body, large beak, numerous tentacles beneath the body, strange, almost unnatural appearance. The original impression is closer to a bizarre floating predator than a normal fantasy creature. It looks something it looks like something that does not belong in the world. Oh, they are. They are very much so. I mean, it's going to be what it is. I mean, Watsy has no problem using some of these things, right? I have two floating monsters here. The Grell is the first one. The Grell is one of the strangest monsters from the book, a floating creature with a large body, beak, and tentacles. It helped establish the tradition of bizarre alien creatures in D&D. The Grell feels less like a fantasy creature and more like something from a horror or science fiction. How they fight. Grell are ambush predators. They rely on surprise attacks, flight, uh, tentacle attacks, paralyzation. Their preferred method: hide, wait for prey, strike suddenly, disable victims. The Grell is dangerous because players may not know they are being hunted until combat begins. It's not the only creature. Obviously, I just talked about the hook horror. So ambushing is a common tactic for the Grell and the hook horror, right? Uh, but yeah, they definitely seem alien and crazy. Old school monsters are still using. Well, they should be. There's not a lot of new monsters, even the new stuff. They still use a lot of this, and why wouldn't you? Like, it's a lot of established stuff in TSR. So much, so much. Uh, it was a field day. I imagine when WotC bought all this, they realize they're buying hundreds of monsters. Like, you don't need to add another 100 monsters onto this stuff. Like, just so much. At that point, you can start focusing on defining, changing, adding things to it. I honestly don't keep up with the WotC stuff too much. So, like, new monsters they might have made, I probably wouldn't know most of them. Flump or Flumph, Flump, Flump, Flumph. The Flump is a strange floating creature. Flump, Flump, whatever you want to say it. Features flat, round body, tentacles underneath, eye stalk or sensory structures, hovering movement. It resembles a strange floating jellyfish like creature. Its appearance is unusual rather than threatening. But in a way, it looks freaky. Like, it has a very freaky appearance. Yeah, exactly. Saying the Fump is one of the most unusual creatures from the Fiend Folio. Although often treated as humorous today, the original creatures were intended as a legitimate fantasy monster. I personally have just liked to freak people out with them and not like do comedy. It represents the willingness of early D&D to include strange ideas that did not fit traditional fantasy categories. How they fight. Pumps are defensive creatures rather than warriors. They rely on flight, defensive abilities, acid-based attacks, mobility. They survive by avoiding direct confrontation. Their importance comes less from being a dangerous combat encounter and more from showing creativity, awareness of early D&D monster design. So if you run into them, they could spit acid at you, but think of them more like a wild animal that just wants to avoid you. Like, they want to avoid you, but they'll at the same time avoid you or not when you first see them. They're meant to freak you out. It's like a mind fuck. Just think about it, like, you see and like, oh my, this thing could kill us. Like, if you're a new player who knows nothing about these things, you could be looking to attack right away. Now, if you look to attack it, it might spit acid at you. That's what makes it extremely dangerous. It has defensive ability, so it probably will survive, if you attempt and fail trying to attack it. Then you're dealing with acid. Once players are well aware of this, of course, they would just probably let this thing float off instead of getting shot at with acid, right? But if you don't know that, and this is meant to surprise you, it's meant to surprise an experienced player, especially. You run around the corner, if I describe and show you a picture of this thing, you'd be like, I'm swinging at it. I don't want to die. That's the problem. Right? By swing at it might be the reason you die. Like it's not meant to be some amazingly strong thing, but it's acid, dude. Don't don't underestimate what acid can do to your face. And there's one monster here that so many people here will definitely have heard about, Miles included, the Ettercap. Good description of Ettercap. Now, many people will know what most of these monsters look like, but I mean, the odd person out there that doesn't, I'll give some description. The Ettercap is a spider-like humanoid. Features: humanoid torso, spider characteristics, clawed hands, fangs, spider-like body traits. It appears as an intelligent spider predator rather than a giant spider. The Ettercap is one of the more traditional fantasy monsters from the Fiend Folio. It is a spider-like humanoid predator that combines intelligence with animalistic hunting instincts. They are especially suited for forest, wilderness areas, and locations connected to giant spiders, obviously. How they fight. Ettercaps prepare before combat. They use web traps, poisons, ambushes, terrain advantage. An Ettercap is dangerous because it does not fight fairly. It chooses the battlefield before the heroes arrive. So, again, these guys aren't just going to be like walking around. You know what I mean? Like in most, like wherever they are, they're hanging out in an area to catch you. It's back to ambushing. It's back to being in dangerous locations where it's all to their advantage, not them moving into areas where they haven't set up. They'll stay around and like around an area where they can catch you, right? And they're spider-like beings. Now, a lot of people know about the Ettercap because of Baldur's Gate 3. Can't get around that one. The Zill Zill, I think Xill, depends on how you want to say that, right? Zill. Okay, we'll go with the word Zill. I'll say that because it is what it is. It is an alien humanoid predator. Features four arms, red or reddish coloration, sharp claws, reptilian or insect-like traits, thin, dangerous build. The forearms are the feature that immediately separates it from normal humanoids. Like it's going to be obvious, right? You see a humanoid, but you see this thing with forearms right away. So they are four-armed extraplanar predators introduced in the Fiend Folio. They are unusual because they are not simply monsters, they are intelligent outsiders with their own motivations. Their alien appearance and planar nature made them memorable additions to the game. How they fight. They specialize in capturing enemies. They use multiple weapon attacks, surprise attacks, paralyzation, planar abilities. They are not always, or planar abilities. They are not always interested in killing opponents immediately. Their danger comes from being hunters that can strike, disappear, and return later. So, if you become dangerous, if they come in and try to take you down and it fails, they could back off without just trying to stay around for sure. Like they're not going to retreat to leave you alone. They'll retreat to come back and try to get you again. And it's sometimes they'll retreat even after their initial attack if it hasn't taken you down. Like they're not there to fight you. They are hunters. So don't think of them as like opponents that are there to have a combat encounter with you. They are there to take their shot. And now if they take one or two of you down, like to sleep, paralyze you, well, then they'll take their chances, right? Stun jelly. Scars. I hear you. I hear you, my dude. I hear you. Okay. One of the ones I mentioned earlier, when Miles was asking me which ones I like from the Fiend Folio. I like a variety, but the flail snail. Appearance. The flail snail is exactly the kind of strange creature that defines the Fiend Folio. Features: giant snail body, large protective shell, eye stalk resembling flails. The creature looks like a normal snail concept taken into a fantasy monster direction. The shell is the most important visual feature. So it's like this giant shell with this like one eye thing. The flail snail. The flail snail is one of the most famous examples of Fiend Folio's strange imagination. It is exactly what the name suggests, a giant magical snail with a flail-like appendage. Unlike many monsters, it became famous because of its uniqueness rather than because it became a part of D&D lore. How it fights. The flail snail is primarily a defensive challenge. It relies on powerful shell protection, magical defenses, resistance against spells. Its reflective shell makes it attacking it with magic risky. The challenge is not defeating a powerful attacker, it is figuring out how to overcome a bizarre magical defense. So it can definitely kill you, but you might be like trying to cast magic at it. A lot of magic won't work. Right. And it's going to be very protected. So even trying to get at this thing could be very challenging. And because it has all that defense while you're trying to take it down, it's going to be fucking coming in. And really, it's not like a straight out warrior thing. But if you try to come at this thing, and it's meant to look bizarre, almost on another one of these things where there's a good chance the flail snail will move away from you if you don't just charge it. Might. Like it might not come to attack you. This thing looks bizarre, but it depends on your reaction to it. That really counts, right? Really does. I hope we're having fun so far. I hope I'm hitting some of the things you guys want me to hit. I don't know. I told you I could have just generally went into more detail on the Fiend Folio and background and some of what the monsters were, but I was like, I mean, not in detail, but just I see, I did that on the AD&D 1E thing, but I don't know how much you guys are going to know about these monsters. And I said, or how much you'd even want to say about them. I knew you probably want to hear about them, and I hope I'm providing that. I hope that link to the Fiend Folio is really helpful, especially where Bill made a good point. There are a lot of fakes and clones and shit like this. You could definitely check it against that. That's the real thing there. I sent you over there, the archive one, and that's good to go with the second edition books that I put in there because Fiend Folio is AD&D 1E, but they're handy monsters. Period. Like some of them are already in the second edition stuff, but they're bizarre enough that I use some of them with 2E. So worth having. Worth having. Okay. Now, these are an extension, some more monsters we're going to talk about. The Nilbog. What's a Nilbog? The Nilbog is goblin spelled backwards. That's important. Cool. Appearance, Nilbog looks like a normal goblin. Features, small humanoid body, goblin-like face, typical goblin appearance. The important point, there's nothing visually obvious that tells adventurers they are dealing with a Nilbog. The surprise comes with its strange abilities. So Nilbog is just the word goblin spelled backwards, but okay. So the Nilbog is one of the most memorable examples of early D&D's strange approach to monster design. The name is Goblin, as I said, spelled backwards, which reflects the creature's unusual nature. It resembles a goblin-like creature, but it does not behave like a normal goblin encounter. The Nilbog was designed around the idea of challenging players' assumptions. Instead of simply being another creature to defeat through combat, it creates a situation where players must understand what makes it different, how to fight. The Nilbog's defining feature is that it reverses normal expectations. Against the Nilbog, damage does not work normally. Healing can have an opposite effect. Common adventuring tactics may backfire. The challenge is not simply reducing its hit points, the challenge is discovering the strange rules governing the creature. That's a mind screw. Like you're sitting there, what? It's just a goblin. What is it? It's not a goblin. It's a Nilbog. But like, do you even know you're running into a Nilbog? No, because it looks exactly like a goblin. You think you're, but this is, oh my, oh my. Before I knew about the Fiend Folio, we had ran into one of these in a game I played, and it screwed my head. I was like, what? You like? I like we see a goblin. He's like, I'm like, he's by himself. He must be separated from the others. I said, I'm gonna run up behind this guy because I had a club, and the reason I had a club is I wasn't holding on to my main weapon. We had done this. We had tracked into this dungeon where we got some loot, and we purposely avoided this creature that was we spotted before he could spot us, and we got out of there, which was a rust monster. So I'm going back in paranoid. There's a rust monster in here, and I don't want him eating my weapon. So one of the items, one of the weapons I picked as a weapon proficiency was club. And I would do that often with a lot of characters, pick club, because the reason I would do that is club can be anything. Just about like you could take a leg off a chair. You get a club, and if you're proficient with it, well, now you get a club with numbers. Right? You get a club with a benefit to it, without a minus. Right? It becomes an instant weapon in your hand. Anything you could treat as a club, you could treat as a club. So I picked up an item like an item I could use as a club, and I'm like, I'm gonna run up and like club this guy in the back of the head and try to tie him up. That was my plan. Ran up, poink. He turns around. Like, but I hit him too. Like he didn't even react. Nope. He's turning around, looking up at you with a strange look, and I'm like, that is not good. I'm gonna hit him again. Gamer's like, okay. I'm like, bang, nothing. I said, okay, guys, I'm in trouble. Like, what's going on? Like, you can't deal with the goblin? And he's like, that's when the goblin says, no bug. Says it in plain English, like says it in like human common. I'm like, no bug. And that's when one of our players, he had read the Fiend Folio already. He's like, he starts with his character, get out of there! Get out of there now! It's like, I'm okay, I'm backing off. Like, because it's a no bug, and I can't hurt the no bug. And yeah, well, this no bug had a magical item. So he grabs me by the leg, and he's going to take me through this gate thing. Long story is, took them a long time to get me out of the situation. That was my encounter with a no bug. Ran up, bink, nothing. Turns around, what? Bink, nothing. Get out of there. Okay. Oh shit. I'm in trouble. And I got caught in this thing. I'm gonna go longer into the story, but that was my encounter with a no bug. Was you can't hurt this guy normally, and it was freaky because I played right into the thing of the assumption thing. Like I was guilty of it. So ironically, it was made to do that to you, and I wasn't a dumb player, but it's one of those times where I thought this was really basic. I thought I was just supposed to run up and club this guy and get some answers out of him. I wasn't even trying to kill him. That's why I was using a club, right? That was my encounter with a no bug. Painful. Okay, the retriever. Abilities related to hiding, avoiding hits, running under through obstacles, and being relatively fast. It's just sometimes basically what your dark fey goblins are just more clever as combatants. And if you start playing clever when your players are going to go at it like it's like a basic fight, yeah, I guess I can see that screwing them up a bit. Right? Retriever appearance. The retriever is a constructed hunting creature. Features large spider-like body, multiple legs, 4 powerful arms, central body containing magical eyes. It looks like a mechanical or magical predator built for a specific purpose. It should feel like a demonic machine rather than a living animal. Oh, I hear you. You and your trolling with goblins. I get it. You're Mr. Troll dealing with the goblins. I can't blame you. That's fun stuff. So, retriever background. The retriever is one of the most important planar creatures introduced in the Fiend Folio. It's a magical construct associated with demons in the abyss. Its purpose is not a random destruction. Its purpose is not random destruction. It is a hunter and servant created to find and recover targets. A retriever represents the idea that powerful beings can send specialized creatures to accomplish specific tasks. How they fight. A retriever is designed for pursuit. It uses greater physical strength, multiple attacks, powerful defenses, magical eye rays. Its eye rays are one of its defining abilities, allowing it to attack enemies with supernatural effects. Retriever is not usually encountered as a wandering monster. It is usually there because something powerful sent it. So usually you're being, well, not usually, 99% of the time, if you encounter one of these things, it's not that you ran into it. It's hunting you. And it should look surreal for a medieval situation. Like some weird machine. And this weird machine is being sent to you like as some type of construct for some evil being that you have really probably pissed off. It's like, is there some evil wizard here, or maybe some demon that you upset? Like you've come into the wrong place. Like what? Or you took the item out of the room where it says, do not move this item. Do not remove this item. You removed it. So that's in Briac. I hear you. Briac. Any stories anybody has of any of this stuff, go ahead and share it. I don't care. Now, onto a different monster. Son of Caius. Or Caius. Son of Caius. Son of Caius. Appearance. The Son of Caius is an undead horror. Features: decaying human body, rotting flesh, corrupted appearance, worms emerging from a crawling through its body. So it's like a decaying humanoid body, rotting flesh. So this thing's going to look as undead as you can imagine. It has a very corrupted appearance, like it's going to look like eyes are red. You know what I mean? Stuff like this, like it's being controlled. It will have worms emerging or crawling through its body. So either worms coming out, or you can see like under the skin, like worms moving, right? And the worms are the creature's defining visual element. It represents disease, decay, and corruption. The Son of Caius is one of the most disturbing undead creatures from the Fiend Folio. It is connected to Caius, an ancient evil associated with decay, corruption, worms, and undeath. Although later editions expanded Caius into a much larger village and mythology, the original creature already introduced the idea of undead horror that spreads beyond simple combat. The Son of Caius attacks through corruption. Its dangers include undead resilience, fair effects, disease and decay, Caius worms that infect victims. The danger is not only defeating the creature, the danger is surviving the encounter without carrying its corruption forward. So it's one of these things where you could defeat the worm, you could defeat this whole big, but did you get sick? Did you get caught up? So it's like one of those things where it's like, oh man, you can beat the rust monster, but you might lose some of your gear. Right? That's just gear loss. And this one, you could defeat the monster, but it's like one of your guys are sick and they're screwed. Like it doesn't matter that you won. Maybe half your guys are fucking sick. That would be an awful outcome. And that's the type of thing Son of Caius can do to you. Can definitely leave you screwed up at the end. Like you won, but what have you won? Death is coming anyway. Doesn't mean for sure, but it definitely is going to make the game a lot harder. It's like the way I'll put it. It's like I'll use a video game related thing. It's like having that game where you're running around with the DayZ standalone, because you guys know I play these games, and you get sick, but you can't find the cure. you're going to die. That's it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how good you're doing. You could have all the guns. You could have all the food. Doesn't matter. You're going to die. You're dead. It's just all the benefits just seem like a waste of time now. Like, you're fucking fucked. That's what running into one of these guys. So they're dangerous on a completely. It's just a creature dangerous on a unique level. And the surreal seem like the worms coat or the worms under the body. Whew. Okay. Next is the Disenchanter. The Disenchanter. What am I saying? The Disenchanter. The Disenchanter. Appearance, the Disenchanter is one of the strangest looking creatures in the book. Features, strange animal-like body, long trunk-like snout, horn-like features, odd magical beast appearance. It has an odd magical beast appearance. It does not look like a traditional monster. It looks like an unnatural creature from a magical ecosystem. So just, it's not from the normal world. Like it's going to look like something from another place. Not alien in the same way, but just messed up. The Disenchanter is one of the most old school creatures in the Fiend Folio. Unlike many monsters that exist to kill adventurers, the Disenchanter threatens something else: their magical equipment. In early D&D, magic items were extremely valuable. In losing the power of a treasured weapon or piece of armor could be devastating. So the rust monster could just take down your normal weapon. This thing can screw up your magical weapon. How they fight: the Disenchanter attacks magical properties, drain enchantment, remove magical bonuses, strip power from items. The danger is not necessarily death. The party may defeat the creature, but lose the magic that helped them survive previous adventures. So you get your +2 sword. Now you get a sword. You're wearing that great piece of like +2 armor. You are amazed that you got that as a warrior. It's really helping you out. Like, man. And then that's gone. So if you're scared of losing some valuable items to a rust monster, imagine what it's like running into a Disenchanter. Man. Okay. The crypt thing. I'll give you guys a moment here if you want to respond to that thing. Disenchanters were, man, if you wanted a DM to upset you, this is a way to get upset right here. The Disenchanter is so bad, it's not like the Rust Monster. Like Rust Monster. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Okay, 1 second. All right. So yeah, the Disenchantress, the way I look at it, is sort of like it's one thing to lose a weapon to a rust monster, but the Disenchantress is like losing levels to some type of undead creature. Like I've heard players go, if that happens, I'm quitting. Well, I hear you. It's just imagine like you're losing that, so it could be devastating. I actually I don't think I know you've heard some other stuff, Miles, but I get some other videos earlier about that stuff. Is the morph there? Those gave me nightmares too. I don't got that one covered in this one. It just sort of brained it on that one. Covering the ones I actually used. So, yeah, I've only used a few with the second edition games I've done. These are the ones really I've used actually that are from the Fiend Folio, or at least I can sort of counter or discuss with the Fiend Folio. I sort of know what you're talking about. It's just I don't know it off the top of my head. So it's like, do I remember that one detail? No. I mean, you're welcome to talk about it there, Black Rose, if you want to talk about that one. We're on the subject of Fiend Folio, so I don't care. You can actually talk about it. Go ahead. If you got a story, tell me the story. Most of them are screwed up. Like the crypt thing here. The crypt thing appears to be an undead guardian. Ancient corpse like appearance, skeletal or decayed form, tomb guardian appearance. It looks something that has remained buried for centuries, waiting for intruders. Nope. The crypt thing. The crypt thing is a classic dungeon guardian. It fits perfectly into old school adventures. Ancient tombs, forgotten crypts, hidden treasures, dangerous guardians. Unlike mindless undead. One second. I apologize. Sorry. Oh my. So many files I have open here. Okay. All right. As I was saying, we'll go over it again. The crypt thing is a classic dungeon guardian. It fits perfectly into old school adventures, ancient tombs, forgotten crypts, hidden treasures, dangerous guardians. Unlike mindless undead, the crypt thing exists with a purpose, protecting what lies beyond. I have encountered one of these things. I ran one of these things. These things are not the things you want to run into. How they fight the crypt thing. Crypt thing's main weapon is control rather than damage. Its signature ability is teleporting intruders away. This allows it to separate adventurers, remove threats, and disrupt teamwork. The party may enter a chamber together and suddenly find themselves scattered. I call this the pain in the ass monster. It's you get there, especially if you like you've dug down, you went down into a dungeon, and next thing you know, you come in and most of the guys are gonna fail. Just say if you get unlucky. It's like phew, like what's happened? You don't know where some won't know where they are right away. They could be in a different part of the dungeon they weren't even at before. They could be at back at a place. They could be outside. And split up means where are you? Are there other threats around? You don't know. Oh, vampires were terrifying because they could suck levels out. Right. But that's the main reason people were afraid of them. Like it's one thing to get your ass kicked. It's another thing to go, well, I'm level 6 now. And maybe by the end of the fight with the vampire, you're level 3. Or you're dead. Or hell, you're a vampire. Or something in that vein. A ghoul. So well, they can. It depends. But I totally hear what you're saying. Vampires were scared. They were scary in the same way, almost like rust monsters could be somewhat scary, but the enchanters could be as scary as the vampires because of the way players would take it in, especially if you all had like very unique magic items you've been leaning on for so long. Like it's magic items almost start get you adjusted to a certain beneficial gameplay happening, and the idea that you could lose that weapon, that armor, that ring, that constant thing. Man, once you realize what they can do, and imagine the way you have to learn. Like the enchanter is not your common monster manual thing, so a lot of players won't even know what it is. They run into it, they're just like, okay, what's this? Okay, what's he doing? Your sword stops glowing. What? Yeah. The magic has left your sword. Now you don't even know it's permanent. Like you're just like, what for? Like delay? Pause? What's going on? Yeah, the magic has left the sword. Matches, what the... What's he play? Players can threaten to leave your game over vampires, especially if they have the ability to take levels away. Right? It's like, yeah, well, if you're gonna do that, I'm quitting. I've seen players straight up quit games over that effect, that gameplay effect. Um, I just say, yeah, it's meant to be dangerous. Avoid it. Avoid it at all costs. But I don't treat vampires like you're playing in a video game either. You're wise to negotiate with them, and it's possible. Nope. Nope, Miles. No. That's that's it. You're shit out of luck, right? I mean, the crypt thing though could be very painful because it can put players with the teleport thing. It could put you in danger. So you could be put into a place where there's monsters, but it's just you now, not your party. Uh, it could leave you in alone to have to deal with the crypt thing. That is not that powerful, but they are dangerous. Here's the funniest thing I've ever done with a rabbit was there was a permanent constitution law as possible as alternative for those groups who had most issues. I hear you. I hear you. I done level stuff. People were. I always warn people like you want to stay away from vampires in my game. Um, but as far as rabbit, okay. So I had these rabbits that were made as sort of security uh, for this wizard, for this very powerful necromancer who had these sort of like what looked like weird greenish furred rabbits. But these things could, if they were touched by, they were like undead. So they were touched by the living, they would explode. And the explosion was there to, well, it would damage you a lot. It could kill you, but it also give a warning, if they got touched by anything alive, right? Anything alive. Now, most animals would stay away from these things. Like instinctively, they just knew. So they wouldn't get attacked by other creatures. They didn't seem alive. Animals seemed to like, well, and the way I had it was purposely animals seemed to understand, don't touch these things. I remember only time it happened, only time I ever had one was just on this one. He was, how can I say, a sort of drugged up necromancer. He was on drugs all the time and he liked to screw around. So this guy just did this as like sort of fuckery. And he put these rabbits aside and they look fuzzy at first. They sort of look weird and green. One of the players goes over and picks them up. Well, it blew up. It did almost 60 points of damage. And it didn't kill his character because he was high level, but it blew off both of his hands. Picked it up. There goes your hands, dude. Blew him across. Like he was laying on the ground. He's half unconscious. He's bleeding from his arms. How'd they fix that? Well, they had one. They had this wish ring with one wish left. Now it was like minor wishing, but I allowed them to use it to put his hands back on. That would have been devastating. Now, why? Why was that devastating? That was a thief. That was a rogue. There goes your hands, dude. Oh man, he was upset with me. He's like, what happened? He knew major damage could break your arm, blow your arm off, could dent in your chest, and he knows at a certain point, like if you go over half, it's devastating, and it could be save versus death too. He saved versus death, lost both of his hands, exploded. You want to see a look on a guy's face. Now he's in a brutal game. He never quit or anything, but man, he couldn't believe it. He panicked. He's like, how am I getting my hands back? I'm like, I don't know. And I roll on devastation. How bad is the major damage going to be? And so I use a chart for 1 to 10, 10 being the highest amount of damage you can take as far as like to the physical body, and I rolled 10. It's like, all right, dude, there goes your hands. And I just probably had a couple people leave over the hands. And that was Necromancer. And they had a mind or wish ring. With it was 2 wishes. They had already used one of the wishes already. Right? That was to get a map to a place. So they got a map. They wish for a map to get to a location. So I was like, okay, all right, the ring will produce that for you. And their last wish was to return his hands. We returned his like herbs to the state it was, and the minor wish was used, and it returned his hands. Now, why did I do it there? Why did I allow something that major to happen? Because there was something in there. If they had been more patient, they could have saved their wish spell and fixed his hands inside. Remember, they're dealing with a necromancer. Just before you guys freak out, there's a lot of details in there, but it was major. It was both arms were broken. I didn't. It was an explosion. Well, how do I make explode? I'm not going to make his nose blow off, so his hands blew off from picking it up like a firework. It's like imagine you pick up your hand like holding fireworks. Is the way I treat it. It explodes, and it makes this loud sound. It sends up like a firework type of thing up. So it's an explosion. When it exploded, there went his hands. There you go. There's a story. Hope you like that one. Okay. Flynn. It's the last one I'm going to cover here. Flynn resembles a powerful gnoll-like humanoid. Features, hyena-like facial features. Larger and stronger build than normal gnolls. Warrior parents. Flynn's in second edition became like leaders, but they're found here. Warrior parents, more imposing presence. It looks like an elite humanoid warrior rather than a common monster. Flynn. Flynn is a stronger, more dangerous relative of the gnoll-like humanoids introduced in the Fiend Folio. Later editions expanded the relationship between Flynns and gnolls, giving them a larger place in gnoll culture. They became leaders, pretty much. It's like, in second edition, if you meet so many goblins, you're going to meet a leader with guards. Well, if you meet so many gnolls, you're going to meet with their leader, the Flynn, right? How they fight. Flynn is a skilled combatant. It relies on strength, weapon skill, aggressive tactics. The creature is notable for its distinctive fighting style and associated with specialized weapons such as the Flynn bar, almost like something like a flail. Flynn bar in later development. A Flynn encounter works well. A leader among weaker humanoids, a champion opponent, a dangerous warrior enemy. Yep, I know what you're talking about there. Flynns were cool. By second edition, they just became like these elite. Like if you, a Flynn is almost like a king. No, he's like obviously going to get a higher rank. He's going to be considered a leader in most cases. They could be kings and leaders and notable people in Flynn society, in Gnoll society. Well, craziness. There. I figure you didn't want to hear all the alarms going by. There's the Fiend Folio, guys. And I mean, I get the fluff at the start. It's really good. That gives you a really good background on the Fiend Folio and how they brought it together. It was British and it was unique. And then there's a crap load of monsters. Not every Fiend Folio monster, but I only covered the ones that I actually used out of the book, which were a mix of me using, so like the Giff Yankee were from me using them for second edition, but they're in the Fiend Folio, so I covered them. Every other one I used. Sorry to add the disturbing element on to the thief and his hands blowing up. But when I decided to do something brutal, it was like I rolled the most brutal thing that could possibly happen to them. And these bunnies were like these sort of like you pick them up, and if you grab onto them, they can explode like a firework. If you throw a weapon at them, they can explode like a firework. And the blast is to give him a light signal and a noise so he knows there's a threat outside, right? Because the other animals would leave this thing alone. And it just hopped around. When they first see it, it's just like hopping around. It's like, oh, there's a bunny? Yeah. They're like, what's that? And Vee's like, I'm going to go check it out. And the other players, I mean, the faces they gave him at the table when he just said, I'm going to go check that out. They're like, dude, it's Steven's game. You should be careful. Like, they know it's my game. So they just said, like, be careful. He goes and picks it up. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do a roll. Well, they're blown up. Will you be second edition info like Kits and stuff? Monster lore is lores. Yeah, I just went over, man. A whole bunch of them. Slightly under 20. AJ, you just getting to the end of it, dude. I did the fluff because this is a Fiend Folio is a British package. Let's see. I'll throw down some of the ones I went through already. Let's see. I went over the Gith Yankee, of course. Death Knight, the Slatty, the Gith Zer-I, which is another version of the Gith Yankee, but like monk-like. Hook Horror, the Floating Grell, the Floating Flump, Ettercap, the Zill, Flail Snail. So that's the first bit. And then went over, oh, geez, I'm looking at the wrong one. The Nilbog, which is Goblin backwards, which Nilbogs are like just sort of a weird version of a goblin. Like you can't hurt it exactly the same. Like you can't do damage to it like it's normal. It's meant to look like a goblin but trick you. The Retriever, right? The Son of Caius, which is like this word, like a sort of rotted humanoid with like red eyes type of thing, but it has like worms either going through it or coming out of it. And those worms can give you like disease. So even if you beat this thing, you get sick and die afterwards. The Disenchanter is a weird, it's like if you're scared of the rust monster because it might destroy your armor or weapons, like metal, the Disenchanter does something else. It drains the magic out of your stuff permanently. So you're like using a +2 sword, Disenchanter gets to it. Okay, now you get a sword. Crypt Thing, teleporting people everywhere if you do encounter the Flynn, which in second edition just sort of becomes like a king leader of gnolls, like sort of an elite gnoll instead of something separate, but it, you know, at the time. No, I hear you. Well, first let me respond to Bill. Bill, the second edition stuff. I don't know if you're talking about content or just talk about the game we were talking about. You can definitely pitch a kit. You can clarify that. I'm not sure. Will you be second edition info? I'll let you clarify that for me, Bill. What monster do you think is unfun to run or play with? Oh man, I'm trying to think. Like what monster is unfun? See, I'm thinking like from the point of view of the player or the DM. Eaters, Greg Grill, the stuff from Fiend Factory and the White Dwarf Magus, it was pretty wild. The Fly Folk never made it to the folio, but they should have. No, it's I totally agree with you. I like the bizarreness of the Fiend Folio. It was meant to be that way because like if you look at the history, the fluff which I covered at the start. So if you get a chance to rewind that and check that out, AJ, that's interesting. I covered all the sort of backstory fluff to it. They didn't want to just make monsters that had that could fight better or had more whatever. they were purposely looking to make, how could I say, like extreme, but almost weird, like, challenges for the players, right? Just weird, screw your head up challenges. Like one of the funny ones is like, not funny ones, but they have one that almost looks like almost something like a modern day machine monster that should look bizarre to you in the medieval world, that will come hunting you for a demon or an evil wizard. Uh, oh, will I cover kits? Yeah, I actually that's actually what I'm doing next month in August. Is one of the D&D streams is going to be second edition kits. Like I've already done a second edition as a just cover stream, but I'm doing a whole stream on just kits. Just kits. Underdark creatures are all top of definitely. But I do like the floaty stuff. I went over the ones I've actually used from the Fiend Folio, like because when I'm a second edition guy, but I actually used quite a few of them. Let's see. I found it weird. I actually linked something. I'll link again there, AJ. Something really good. You probably, if you don't already have it, or as Bill said to some people there's a lot of fakes out there. This is just interesting if you want to check. And if you don't have the original, this is really, really good. That's just a Fiend Folio online, but it's like a page turner thing. And you can zoom in. So even if the text is a little bit like, you can zoom in on the pages, but it's just the original thing, right? It's just the original thing. It's a little bit different than just using a normal PDF. You might like it as a bit of a page turner thing. It's good if you need to check something very quick. It's the Fiend Folio as is, especially to avoid those fakes, right? Like the clones. We were talking about the crypt thing. The crypt thing could teleport you all over the place. As Miles asked me, what kind of monsters know fun to run? I would have to say the crypt thing is probably the one that even though I like the trickery of it, I don't as a DM. Like my experience with it has been sort of lacking. Yeah, I don't like how that went. So I'd say the crypt thing, at least out of the ones I talked about tonight, was like the one where I didn't like the outcome all the time. Yeah, I hear you. I have it. I do. What do you know? What I get it packed away. I really do. I have the whole black cover with the guy on it and stuff, right? Oh, and PDFs. I have some of the original books, not all. I have a lot of printed stuff, like a lot of printed stuff. I don't get a lot of PDFs, to be honest with you. One of the recent set of PDFs I got was you guys would all know it. Checking. Be patient with me, fellas, for a second. Oh yeah, the D&D rule encyclopedia. I got that. It's the most recent PDF I actually purchased. I purchased that a while ago, but I purchased that the D&D recycle. I tracked down obscure magazines from Scotland in early 70s. Only 6 issues ever made, but they got scanned and I found them. Oh, I have so many guys here that totally I don't I don't pretend to be that, but I do just like I've covered so much stuff, like I've gamed with so much stuff that I don't pretend to be a historian. I only just go into like if you notice my game coverage is just about a specific, like if I ran the game or played. So yeah, that sounds cool though. To be pumping all that knowledge in your head. It's I don't know. I never pretend to be that, but I do the research for the history on every game that I'm covering, which is to give some interesting backstory. There's some things I find that aren't all in the books too, because I check out interviews with the game designers, what the market was saying at the time too, when I could find news articles about what they said about the game or the market or business stuff. I've had some unique stuff doing that, and that's just not just stuff you're going to find just in a PDF or something, like just freehand interviews where they say some interesting stuff. Um, in some cases, I don't find all that, or if I go down the line, I won't bother with some things. Like some things I just ignore. Rule Encyclopedia is great. Yet I wanted it handy because I do want to do. I do want to cover it. So because I have used a lot of stuff in there. What I do is I'm even sometimes I care about the mechanics and I'll hit the mechanics a lot. Like some of the games here I've covered, people early on, a couple of them I just did. I forgot to even mention the dice system for the game because I was going over certain. Like when I go into it, I do the fluff and I do DMing advice. I do character creation advice, and I do setting. And the DMing advice for a lot of old school games, AJ, it's more about performance as a DM than understanding rules. Like it really is. Like most of the old school games, and if you've checked out your history, you know exactly what I mean. The rules are purposely simple, but that's not what they're worried about. They're worried about spotlighting, timing, uh, ruling over rules for pace, game pace, and these are common things that you'll actually find. Like, does game pace and flow mean something to old school games? The designers, yeah, so much so that you'll see a lot of the games advise you to ignore things, ignore exact rules for the sake of pushing a pace, right? It's a lot of old school gaming is performance for the game master. It really is. So a lot of my advice is usually like not about a mechanic, and usually more about timing, how you could perceive something, concepts for hooks, or how you get players moving forward, like the pressures and a sandbox type of thing, which is really good on. So it's not always mechanics, even character creation. It's not always on mechanics as much as it is focusing on giving you an idea of what will get good gameplay out of it, like the way a player should view character creation, so they don't go into it trying to min max, because min max actually won't get you the best game experience. Like there is a reason to go in and want to have uh, principles or ways you perceive things, right? Oh, geez, Bill, meet AJ Pickett. uh, yeah, there you go. You'll find everything you need with Mr. AJ. Go check out YouTube. Bill's one of those old timers. He doesn't check out a lot of YouTube stuff there, AJ. Yeah, AJ is well known on the tubers. Oh, and Bill, I don't know if you caught that. And me and AJ are I'm quite happy. We sort of sorted some details with the other night. We're going to talk this Sunday for sure. And he knows now the deal. We're going to do a little interview, ask AJ some basic stuff about his background, so he can stuff that's easy. I want to hear you talk, not. And then we're going to go a little bit in your hero game. A few questions on that, so you can throw that at me. I want to hear from your point of view. I'll tell you some of the things I think about it too, because you want to hear what I have to say. So far, all good. So far, all good. I really like, and the convention play stuff, 100% AJ. It's a convention game, and it's new. And I don't know. I'm going to drill on the point that should be a thing that you should be aiming at, because right now, Hero is in. A lot of people are pushing Hero stuff right now. It's like good timing, very good timing. And then we're going to go into Palladium. Sunday, July 19th, just Sunday. Normal, like around 8 o'clock my time, which is But 30 minutes ago would have been at like 8 o'clock my time. So I think it's around noon or something for AJ. And then we're going to go into Plendium, talk about Unlimited Heroes and some other games and some of the rules. And AJ knows a lot more about Plendium than I do. Though me and him do both like Unlimited Heroes. I do understand a lot of the basic rules. I like the old school rules more than some of the newer stuff. But again, it's going to be letting AJ we're going to yap it a little bit about Plendium, which I know he wants to. And I'm excited to do that with you, AJ. Really, really, honestly. I'm even getting some notes together and some of my stuff just to make sure I know what I want to talk about. I ran Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a bit of Robotech, and I've done shitloads of Unlimited Hero. So about 6 o'clock your time, Bill. That'd be me and AJ. I'll be doing an interview. We'll start off with an interview, and then we're going to be chit-chatting at the end with Bo Plendium for a while, which will be fun. I'm looking forward to that because we both like Unlimited Heroes, and it's just interesting because a lot of guys have not played, or Heroes Unlimited, I should say. I say Unlimited Heroes because how can I say? I had a guy who I game with, and he would always call it Unlimited Heroes, and that has stuck in my head. And so I get corrected all the time now, but I remember for years calling it Unlimited Heroes because my buddy would call it Unlimited Heroes all the time. And I'm like, it's Heroes Unlimited, but we would call it Unlimited Heroes. Yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was fun for a mutant game, for the mutant character creation. So I don't know if you spent any time with that, AJ, but that became what's the next game? Something After the Bomb or something like that. The mutant character creation from that game was so popular. But yeah, it's gonna be a good discussion because I can get into more stuff and we'll be really nice. We're going to talk about Eric, a guy who's done a lot of work in, and of course we'll mention Kevin, right? But I know AJ has a fondness for Mr. Eric that was part of that project, so we'll talk about him. I've talked about Kevin a few times, so it'd be nice to bring up Eric and really drill on him. But he's been mentioned for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff and stuff like that. So it's just haven't given the guy a lot of love. Give him a little bit more love on Sunday. Other than that, it's just vague thoughts right now, but I will finish reading. But character creation, I agree with you, AJ, for your game, your hero game is really easy. So I'm like, yeah, that's definitely convention play. And the guy's already said down here, he's like, I've been reading. He's like, yeah, we're gonna run this at the convention. So I'll definitely have more to say on that Sunday. In preparation mode, dude. That's why I'm being a little vague right now. With the Palladium stuff, what saddens me is when we talk about, say, going back to the old school with the Palladium stuff. I don't think they understand. Like when I played Unlimited Heroes and then I played later games, I was like, I just felt like I went forward with the game. Some it not bad. Some make sense. I don't mind the Robotech damage stuff to a degree. But I do feel like the game got more complicated in a bad way. Like Unlimited Heroes, I actually find the gameplay really good for it, AJ. I mean, genuinely. Actually, I find the gameplay really, really good. It's the more complicated it got weird. I thought it was just a little weird. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wasn't too bad. I like some of the concepts in that. Right? TMNT is not bad. And I like that from the point of view of the mutant stuff, of course. That was some of the most interesting stuff of that game. Right? And I carried some of the mutant concepts over and melt them at one point with Heroes Unlimited. That's an interesting combination, my friend. I actually host ruled and brought that over and actually mixed the two. We could talk about that too. That'll be good. Oh, that's a payoff, my friend. Player rolls the punch ball impact. I hand them a cookie. You definitely tell them it's a cookie. A cookie at the table is pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. I want to know what my brain has been melted right now. I need to. I need to. It's really hot. I'll give you the guys heat here. I've been sitting in a lot of heat, guys. I'm sorry. It's not that bad, but I mean, it's around 21 now. It was like almost, it was like 32 today. And it's only just cooling off now, but my room is really, really, really melty. So I'm overheated here at the end. Sorry you got in at the end there, AJ. I hope you can actually rewind a bit because I say some interesting stuff, but the guys here they were taking it in. Cookies good, people bad. Never met a bad cookie. I know some chicks named Cookie. There's some bad cookies up there. Not all cookies, though. Oh my. Oh my. Let me pull my head out of my butt here. But that was a fun talk, guys. That was a fun. I hope you guys enjoyed that a lot. As far as doing stories with monsters, oh, winter over there. You guys are so lucky. As far as doing videos on monsters, because the guys like to hear some stories. I'll do another one tomorrow. I'll make a video on purpose tomorrow, guys, and I'll give you some personal stories about monsters. Just some personal takes. I mean, but I do have a few videos with some details about monsters, good stuff you could dig into. Yeah, the fluff was good. I never came with no planned stories to tell. But I'll put out a video tomorrow and just go over some personal stuff, just some game stuff. I know I keep getting told people want to hear about some personal takes. I try not to ever get too personal with gaming sometimes because I don't want to tell people about my campaigns or nerd out like other people. I know it's not always that interesting, but just personal combat experiences, stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. I got quite a few of them. I try to tell them without. There's a lot of good stories I have, but they have a lot of context to them. So I don't want to make like a fucking hour video explaining each combat thing because there's so much context around fights sometimes, right? Why were they here? What were they doing? Because it makes it interesting. Yep, yep, yep. I What's my favorite monster just to spring on experienced players? I would say it's like my favorite. I would have to say straight out of the box. Uh, my favorite as far as experienced players because I just know their experience and they don't like it. It depends on the situation. When you say that AJ, it's like depends on where we're at, right? So that really is important. But I would say the most common one that I love putting in, say, a dungeon that really terrifies players is rust monsters. They're annoyed. Uh, if you're out in the wilderness, yeah, I got no problem doing them. Like I love giant spiders. I know it sounds very basic, but we're talking about experienced players here, guys that are going to know something is dangerous before they know it's danger. Like it doesn't matter how experienced you are. Giant spiders are going to be fucking dangerous. And then if we're out at sea, I go old school. I go old school. Get ready for some evil aquatic elves. Now, are they constant? No, because it's so hard to say. Here's my favorite. Rust monsters, just so common to frighten people. Like their equipment's like, oh, there we go. Or I'll sometimes do the nail bug thing. Leap into a gelatinous cube during Esper's game. Damn near died. Hell of a good time. Crossed off my bucket list. Gelatinous cube. I've introduced, I would say, probably about like 200 players to that thing. It's that, and the magical eating chest. Rust monsters are usually interesting for everyone. Gelatinous cubes are always like, you should have been paying attention. Or what's that? Or, oh, can I reach into the thing? Like they'll see an item inside. Can I get that? It's like, all right, dude. Sure. You can try. New players are all like, well, there's a sword inside. There is. You're right. Totally. Old school. I don't know how much old school you've done there, AJ, but that's. I gave it the story. I actually got a video about how the gelatinous cube works, and they really are fucked. The mimic is the secret, the magic chest. That's the one that catches a lot of people. They're not just popular for a reason. They'll make you paranoid too. See, gelatinous cubes and mimics and that are made to adjust your gameplay. So they're cool and they're frightening. There is everything you expect them to be, but they're also there to actually adjust how you play the game. That's player experience. Beholders and Underdark stuff is, are you willing to use psionics? Like, are you willing to use them? Are you really willing to use them? Gelatinous cube I've used so many times. I say 200 times in person, probably about 50 times online. Right. But I've been through so many players, sort of silly. Gelatinous cube. They're always fun. They're always fun. It's players are always going to be dumb about how they deal with the gelatinous cube. Not dumb, but they really do run into these things or just make the worst decisions when they're new. And it's like, I just think to myself, okay, is there some type of like show where they can go watch and they can be warned before they play the game? But no, here we are. Here we are. Gelatinous cubes, mimics. They're all about just teaching players that be paranoid, but be careful. Like, be careful with everything. Watch around the corner. Pay attention to the thing. It's all the game. Like, the game is meant just to have you pay attention the entire time. Oh, my brain. Sorry about that, guys. I'm really overheated now. So, all right, AJ, I love that you stopped. I appreciate that. Bill, I love you. Miles, thanks for the few questions there. I hope I answered them as best I could for the moment. Black Rose, of course. Love you, dude. You and the baby. Say hi to the baby. Say hi to the kids. Right? All that good stuff. And the wifey. All that good stuff. Yeah, I'm going to take a break. I might be back for an off script tomorrow night if I got the time, if I can. I'll be covering, just to let you guys know, I got a game to cover for you guys before I completely go. So this Saturday, before Mr. Interview with our friend here, AJ, I'll be covering the game Teenagers from Outer Space. It's as old school as you get, guys. Old school corniness, Teenagers from Outer Space. It should be unique. Oh, Zag, yes, of course, dude. I love you too. Thanks for being around, dude. Remember character creation and Bill, Zeg, and others when they listen to this. Sunday, get your characters done by Sunday. I'd appreciate it. All right.